All right, if you are on the struggle bus this morning, you're a bit low on coffee.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show that's going to caffeinate you at Freddie Hoiberg. Good morning, everybody. Everybody stay up late last night.
Yes.
Yeah, about 11:45, crawled into bed, said, winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's February 6th, and the bracket is still alive for blue, red, and black Nebraska. If you missed it last night, because I'm sure a lot of people bailed after that first half in Seattle.
I'm one of them.
Nebraska won.
Hey.
86-72. Creighton won earlier in the night.
I
Omaha
take credit.
plays tonight. Hey, what I enjoyed this morning, so I was starting to fade just a little bit, and then the Lakers made a late night trade, which I think was a bad trade for the Lakers, but I'm not a Laker fan.
Yeah, your team made a trade too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'm starting to fade. And Nebraska was starting to pull away. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's just watch. And watched, and Nebraska won. And then this morning I went back and I strolled through my timeline. The first half tweets on Husker Twitter compared to the second half tweets are amazing.
That's incredible.
Yes.
I did not have the foresight to go back and try and track the receipts there. You said crawled into bed. I did not crawl into bed. I slept on the couch. I just parked myself on the couch, grabbed 2 pillows, grabbed a blanket. I go, this is my spot tonight. The game was over. I closed my eyes. I woke up about 4.5 hours later, and here we are. I mean, that's
you get used to it.
Well, who wasn't cussing the TV when, Illinois should have continued to foul against Rutgers. That game didn't start till 9:42, and then it gets off to a start like that, where you're like, this may not be the night. That Freddie Hoiberg, man, whatever he did, his Super Bowl, he has played 3 Super Bowls in a row, and he's 3-0. I know he's a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
Well, not really. I don't know if he's that or not. But last night, the second half was pretty impressive by Nebraska. I mean, it probably won't resonate because you beat arguably the worst or second to worst team in the Big Ten.
Who said you don't apologize for winning?
That's true.
That's a them problem.
That's true. I'll remember that Monday morning. But that's a good win for Nebraska last night. That's also, and look at 2 ends of the coin here. So Creighton was in attention convention in Providence.
Yeah.
And then they pulled away at the end. But that was a tight game pretty much throughout. You lose that game, you know what people are saying. Nebraska loses that game last night, especially the way Washington got off to the start shooting the basketball. You know what the discussion is this morning. So those are 2 good wins. They might not move the needle, but those are 2 pretty good wins for Creighton and Nebraska last night.
When Washington went 8 of 8 from the 3-point line to begin the game, I think a lot of people sat there and were like, here we go again. Oh my God, they're not going to miss. This is going to be a long night. You know what? I may go to bed. This isn't even worth watching. My sleep is worth more than watching this team absolutely break my heart, because if they lost that game yesterday, you could make the argument that beating Oregon and beating Illinois was all for naught, that it doesn't matter because you win those games, but then you lose to the worst team in the Big Ten. I did not think that way. I saw them go 8 of 8 from 3-point land, and I go, wow, Nebraska's only down 13. You would think if a team started 8 of 8 at home, that they would be up. Like, this would be a Mackey Arena versus Purdue situation. This would be a Wisconsin at the Kohl Center situation. The fact that they were only down 13, I thought, you know what? Washington is going to regress, regardless of whether or not Nebraska plays better defense. Whether that Celsius can taste that great.
I don't know. I'm a fan of the peach vibe. Continue on. I made a face there.
That weird look. That's a rough look from you. We'll have to get you some coffee. But no, that's exactly what happened. Washington regressed to the mean. They go 1 of 9 from 3-point line of the second half. Nebraska plays really good, better defense in the second half. And Fred Hoiberg fired him up, man, in the locker room. Got him going.
You son of a bitch, Fred Hoiberg. He's got him. You know what? So I was thinking the same thing. And you know, that's how Nebraska plays defense. It's a make or miss sport. And Washington, to begin the game, couldn't miss. Now, Nebraska was still down double figures, but Nebraska was shooting like 57%. And I'm like, this isn't going to go well. But the key, so, you know, we always talk in football like the middle 8.
Yeah.
Last 4 of the first and first 4 of the second. There's a similar middle 8 that happened last night, because Nebraska didn't allow a field goal in the last 350 of the first half. Now, Nebraska, I think during that stretch, I wrote it down, I think they hit 1-3. So it's not like they made a huge comeback.
Sure.
But they were only down 10 at halftime when you're thinking, like you're thinking, you shoot that well, you should be down more. But then, so they shut them off the board in terms of a field goal in the last 350. And I think this is what happened. This is a Washington team playing a team from the Midwest, travel on their home floor. They're up 10 at halftime. They're feeling good. They're shooting the ball. They got lackadaisical. And I don't know if Fred sensed that or Fred was like, I sense this would be a terrible trip home today if we lose this game. Washington was not ready to play the second half, and they got punked by Nebraska right out of the gate. And I know it was tight and back and forth, but Washington was done. They weren't shooting very well. As a matter of fact, look at the box score. Look who ended up making more threes last night.
I think it was Nebraska.
It was Nebraska. So Nebraska caught them at the end of the first half and then jumped them to begin the second half to get back into the game. And all of a sudden, that advantage by Washington crashing the glass wasn't there. They weren't making threes, and they had no pivot away from what Nebraska was doing. And then, of course, when Bryce Williams needed to hunt a shot last night, he hunted a shot and he made a shot. And Juwan Gary stayed out of foul trouble. And, Nebraska won a Nebraska basketball game. I mean, won by 14 last night on the road.
Well, another thing, too, is Connor Essegian caught fire. I mean, that's always the wild card going into these games. You know that you're going to have, the way that they play, they're going to be competitive, right? Mm-hmm. If Bryce plays well, Juwan plays well, and there's some sort of effort and they're sticking to the rules on defense, they're going to be competitive. But the wild card is always going to be, can Essegian get hot? Mm-hmm. Yesterday, Essegian got hot. Something I noticed, though, and I think that this is Fred locking down and understanding his team, it's a 7-man rotation now. It's going to be, and I think that's just kind of how it's going to be from
I think this time
of
the year. We talked, what John Walker was saying yesterday about the Creighton rotation being cut down.
Like,
it's
benefiting them. Like, they are going to go with Raleigh and Morgan and Hoiberg and Williams and Gary and Essegian, and maybe you'll see 4 minutes from Braxton Mee or, a couple possessions here or there from Aaron Eulis. But this is their 7-man rotation. They know who they are. And Fred Hoiberg said in the postgame, I got on them in the halftime. I got on them. I got on them hard. And he knows. He knew the stake of that game. He knew the importance of winning that game. He knew the importance of going on the West Coast, winning those games, and proving to not only just the team, but to himself, like, hey, we can actually turn this around. Oregon and Illinois weren't just missing shots, guys. We're doing something well. We're doing something effective. We're doing something that can get us into the NCAA tournament. Now you're going to go on this stretch to end the year where it's a lot more feasible to win a lot of these games and get yourself, they're firmly back in the NCAA tournament conversation, but not just back in the convo, out of the bubble.
Yeah, they're on the right side of the cut line.
Yes.
Now, I wouldn't go over the top, but they put themselves in a position like the only guy that updates like nightly is Shelby Mass from USA Today, but a lot will do their brackets on Friday. They do them on Tuesdays and Fridays. They're firmly on the good side of the cut line after what they've done 3 straight games.
Yeah.
But Fred, I think I go back, there was something internally going on with this team.
Yes.
During that stretch of 6 in a row. They didn't look like they liked playing with each other. And then he has that weird press conference right before the game against Illinois.
Oh, Illinois.
Where with Andrew Morgan. And you're like, they are not connected. But since then, they have made winning plays. And I think last night, I absolutely agree with you. He took over at halftime because there was a thing about basketball and a make or miss sport is it's not like in the past where Nebraska was so bad on closeouts against the 3-point shooters last night. Now, Washington did a great job. Washington's initial scout was really good because they passed the ball out of the perimeter. They went from low to high, and they caught Nebraska in some bad rotations. So they did have some good looks, and they were making them. And then there were times where Nebraska was good on a closeout, and they were still making them. And you know what it's like as a player.
Oh,
Jesus,
sure.
What are we going to do today? We're playing good D, and they're still hitting shots. And so I think he realized that to go, hey, we're only down 10 at halftime. We could be down a lot more. We haven't played exceptionally well. We're not hitting the glass. We're not stacking stops. And whatever he did, he rearranged the deck chairs in the locker room and got them to respond. And Washington wasn't ready for it. I think Washington thought Nebraska was going to roll over to begin the second half. They're on the road, long way from home. They already got one at Oregon. You know what? They're going to be, if we get a split out of here, not so fast. So good job on Fred.
15-2 run. 15-2 to begin the second half. I mean, that's how you know that the message that was sent in that locker room was absolutely received by that squad. Look, man, like, you can call it like we don't have anyone here like from the Husker basketball team coming on the microphone and saying, oh, there was absolutely a problem within that locker room. There absolutely was a culture break or whatever. But you saw how they played against those teams in that 6-game stretch. Mm-hmm. You saw how they were hanging their heads. You saw how they just were slower to everything. You just saw, it was just obvious that there was something within the locker room that was creeping out into the court that was lowering their energy, right? And we've talked about it over and over again. Like, this team, you need energy to win because of how they play defense and how they double in the post and how they rotate. Whatever happened, something happened, some meeting occurred, some come to Jesus moment rained down on this team to the point where they've been playing much better with much more energy. And yeah, did they get a little bit lucky against Illinois and Oregon in terms of how they were shooting to win those games? Sure. There was nothing lucky about what they did yesterday. Nothing lucky about that win. They went on the road. They played a team. They got jumped on. They responded. They ended up winning by double digits.
Yeah, they hung in there. I mean, I think
it's a great win.
3 weeks ago, that team doesn't show up for the second half and they get beat by 20.
No.
All right, welcome in everybody. Off and rolling on a Thursday. Some of you will be catching up on the game. Some of you stayed up. Some of you, like Jimmy, went to bed at halftime. How could you go to bed when Bruce Weber was on the call?
Yeah.
I know. I just kept thinking kind of what you said. They won 2 in a row. It's a getaway day. You're going to mail it in. All right, I'm not going to stick with this. And then to wake up, and I feel like if I would have stayed up, they'd have lost by 25.
It's kind of like when you play doubleheader in baseball. You always think about if we can split. But once you get the first game and you win, you're like, all right, we have a chance to sweep here. And, they won on Sunday night in Eugene, and they had a chance yesterday. It would have been easy. It would have been really easy the way that first half went to say, you know what? We got a flight home tomorrow.
Yeah.
We went 1-1. We got Ohio State. If we get a 2-1 week out of this, that's feeling pretty good. That's a good sign for that Nebraska basketball team, because a win like this, and again, people aren't going to go, oh my gosh, they won in Seattle. I mean, for Nebraska purposes, it's pretty important. That loss stings you for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it erases what you did on Thursday and Sunday. So just their moxie to hang in there when there would have been a lot of reasons not to, I think is a good sign moving forward. Now, it doesn't get any easier because you have Ohio State. And Ohio State is fighting for their lives to stay on the right side of the cut line. And you play them on Sunday, but good win last night for Nebraska, just the same as Creighton. I mean,
everybody won.
That game last night in Providence could have easily gone. You would have woken up this morning gone, Jesus, Kalkbrenner and Ashworth carried Creighton, but they lost by a bucket, because that's how that game kind of felt.
Yes,
until Providence started to show their identity, and they just didn't have any answer for 11 in the middle, which I will continue to say. He is going to be the most difficult guy in college basketball to replace. Duke can find another Cooper Flag or something similar.
Sure.
Nobody in college basketball will replace what Kalkbrenner gives to Creighton. And last night was a prime example. Not just the 35 points. Look at the shooting. If you have the shooting chart for Providence,
I got it.
Go of their shot chart. Look at the shots that were in the paint or layups.
Okay.
And they were abysmal. Why? Because Kalkbrenner was living in the paint last night, and he changes everything. But when he needed to score, and he was a mismatch, he got 35. So good night for ball around here. Omaha plays North Dakota tonight.
You want to guess how many made baskets that Providence had within the restricted area?
Do I have one hand?
Yes.
Well, at one point they were 2 of 8 on layups.
There was one there. The incredible thing here, Gary, looking at this shot chart, isn't necessarily that, oh my God, there are so many misses around the basket. The incredible thing is there's no shots around the basket.
Yeah.
Look at this chart.
Yeah.
There's 0 shots. There's a conversation to be had about Kalkbrenner and maybe the Big East Player of the Year. I saw Rothstein tweet about it yesterday about he's got a legitimate shot and he should be in the conversation. Look,
he's got a legitimate shot.
I mean, well, he does. I mean, that's what.
How about he's the Big East Player of the Year when we enter February?
He's pretty decent.
Well, that's what Rothstein was. I was just saying what Rothstein was saying. Listen,
You're going to get crushed for quoting Rothstein.
Okay.
I'm surprised you're not blocked by him.
Yeah.
No.
He blocks it because he blocks everybody in
I
the
blocked
media.
Jay.
I don't tweet at him. I just read his tweets. Look, you go down the list. You ask every coach in the Big East, hey, who don't you want to play against this year? Or who are you least looking forward to playing against this year? Singular player. Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to be at the top of that list for almost every single one of those coaches, not just because of what he did to Providence yesterday, 35 points in the paint, absolutely dominated. Say his name, he appears. Ryan Kalkbrenner's there. It was defense too. I mean, he's the ultimate two-way player. So Creighton's success these last 8 games has been, don't get me wrong, a ton about Stephen Ashworth, a ton about Ryan Kalkbrenner, but also the contributions that they were getting off of the bench. Yeah. Yesterday, bench points were 4. Okay, that was incredibly low. It's the lowest mark they've had in quite a while. It was strictly off the back of Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, 58 points. It's a heck of a win. It's a heck of a win at a place that they haven't won in 4 years.
Why couldn't Jemiah Neal dribble yesterday?
I don't know. He's in a weird little stretch. Some weird, like he was playing great basketball for like 6 straight games, and these last couple games he's taken a little bit of a step back. But it hasn't mattered because at this point it's either Zugic going off or Trout going off the bench, helping the contributions of Kalkbrenner and Ashworth, or it's just yesterday where they just both play Superman.
Creighton's cleaned up against the poverty of the Big East. Now it gets real. Marquette on Saturday. Place will be packed.
It'll be fun.
Depending on what happens Friday night between St. John's and UConn, that game could be for first place. And then you have UConn, and then you go to St. John's. It's great. It's a great time of the year.
Murderers Row.
Great time of the year. All right, coming up on the show today, as we are a step closer to the Super Bowl.
That's what they tell me.
That's what I've heard.
I hear there's going to be a football game to enjoy
me
on Sunday.
Too. I don't really know much about the football game going on because the NBA is in the A block and the B block and the C block.
I hear both teams are having a good year.
Are they?
Yeah.
I hear they're pretty good at football. You don't.
They got players, good coaches.
Yeah. No one cares. No one gives.
I'm starting to care. I've started to begin my deep dive.
Come 5:30 Sunday, you'll be.
Warren Sharp and I are hanging out.
Should I give Gary a call at 3:00 on Sunday? Hey, are you caring right now? Are you nervous? How are you feeling?
He'll be like, actually, I'm watching a House Hunters episode.
That'll be after the Nebraska-Ohio State game.
True.
So Nebraska-Ohio State plays at 1.
Get a little meal in. Get set where you want to be, where your spot's going to be. What the game day fit's going to be.
I'm starting to care. Like today is a big day at the Super Bowl because of the Hall of Fame announcement.
Yeah.
And people will debate Eli Manning, who will be going in tonight. They'll announce that Eli Manning is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And people are like, yeah, he does.
What's the debate?
He has 2 Super Bowl rings and he beat Brady.
Exactly.
You can't tell the history of the Super Bowl without talking about Eli Manning.
There you go. Period. End of story.
So it's kind of and then Kendrick Lamar. Usually it's Thursday when the artist has their press conference. I think it's Thursday.
I remember Michael Jackson's.
I think more national people are showing up at the Super Bowl. So it's there, but you're right. The stuff that's going on in the NBA, and the NBA has until 3:00 today?
I believe it's 3:00 today.
NBA trade deadline?
They start their ESPN NBA trade deadline special at 1 Eastern, 12 p.m. Central.
But if the Lakers acquiring Mark Williams mutes the Super Bowl, the NFL is in trouble.
Mark Williams.
Right.
I don't even know what he does.
Well,
he says a lot.
He's injured a lot.
I know Scott Williams.
He's injured a lot. And he'll catch lobs from Luka.
Yeah.
And now he's a Los Angeles Laker.
I was more interested in your trade last night.
We got rid of him.
He's been in the NBA for 3 seasons. He's played 85 games. I mean, they say that Anthony Davis is made of glass.
The
Mark
next
Williams
Embiid
is made of plastic.
We will talk a lot of Super Bowl today because Josh Klingler, who a longtime member.
He's probably going to be there.
Yeah, a longtime member of the Kansas City radio broadcast, does the sidelines. So Josh will come up at 9. James Palmer from the NFL Network will stop by with his thoughts. There's other things going on in the NFL that are outside of Philadelphia and Kansas City that we'll discuss with James. Steve Sipple stops by at 8:30. You guys think Sip stayed up?
Nope. Of course. He
so?
probably, yes.
He told me he goes to bed early though.
I think he did it. I think he there's things that he will sacrifice and for the greater good of coverage.
I
think go to bed.
I think when they push the game back, He might have been like,
we got to be careful here. It's going to go into the next day.
I don't know. I got to sleep.
Young Jake will figure it out. He'll tell me what happened. I'll read Robin Washington. I'll read his recap.
I went on YouTube and
10 minutes.
I saw the condensed game. The condensed game. You guys know the condensed. You guys know the condensed game on YouTube. You guys ever watch those?
I was just seeing if the Big Ten Network was replaying the game from last night. They are not.
One time my dad was working at home and he turned on the Big Ten Network and he just started. He thought I was home because they played a game that I announced on the Big Ten Network on a replay.
Okay.
And he turned his head and he goes, "Oh my God." And then he called me and then he put the phone up to the TV and be like, "You're announcing right now."
It's like, I'm in bed right now.
And then we tweeted it, this is what we do, all that stuff.
Oh,
solid stuff.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah. It was a big deal.
There is just an observation of West Coast basketball.
Oh, give it a minute.
Out of the Big Ten. So the Big Ten Network, which, it's nice that they have live programming because we're going to get to the springtime and they'll be like, we're good.
Yeah.
We don't carry softball or baseball. We don't care about softball or baseball. But they don't, the way they present West Coast basketball that does not involve UCLA is quite fascinating. It's like a throwaway. It is a throwaway. It's like, sorry, the other 14 teams that have to go out there and play, especially when you go to Seattle.
Less than 5,000?
You're not getting the A team.
Mm-hmm.
And we may or may not stay up with you on the studio show. We may just do halftime.
Yeah, we're going home.
And then it's recorded after that.
You go straight into the Big Ten wrestling breakdown after Washington takes on Nebraska. Hey, man, they got families too. They got to go to bed. They got to sleep. They got a long day of talking to Purdue's water polo coach at 8 a.m. in order to get an interview. They got to do a lot of breakdowns on men's javelin at 11 a.m. on the
Troy
Big Ten
Johnson
Network.
Eating today.
They got a lot of things they have to get to on the Big Ten Network.
Like, what do you think, Coach Weber? Nice guy. Like they say, hey, in your contract, you're going to get to do 3 on-site games a year.
Great.
But they're always going to involve Washington.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy SeaTac.
I hope you enjoy Wilhelm Breidenbach.
Do you like beer? They have good beer there.
And then we're really going to trick you up because you're going to do a game that involves the Huskers and the Huskies. And you might get a little bit confused on which team is which.
Wilhelm made that 3 to begin the game. I think it was the second 3. It was like for them to go to score 6 points. And I go, here we go, man. Here we go. You just know. You just know this guy who never had more than 15 points in the Nebraska uniform is just going to have a 30 bomb tonight. And it's going to be the Wilhelm Breidenbach game. And no one's going to understand the stakes of it other than the Huskers because no one else gives a damn that Washington's 5th starter played 1 year at Nebraska. But dang it, we do.
He's a fascinating character. I wonder if he still is a huge Taylor Swift fan.
He was a huge Taylor Swift fan?
Yeah. So
wow.
He got, when the 1 year he was at Nebraska, he picked the warm-up music. And so it was like 4 Taylor Swift songs.
Oh, God.
And people are like,
did they lose?
Why are they? Back then, they were losing.
Okay.
Was Alonzo Verge on that team? They were losing.
And people are like, why are they playing Taylor? Well, Breidenbach is a huge Taylor Swift fan.
How many Eras Tour concerts do you think he went to?
I don't know. She probably played in Seattle, right? Or Vancouver. Do you think he went to Vancouver?
Do you think that was a part of his NIL deal? Hey, you got to give me Eras Tour tickets. I need 3 domestic American Eras Tour tickets. I need 1 Canadian Eras Tour ticket, and I need 1 France Eras Tour ticket.
After reading the On3 article about what kids ask for, wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise you at all.
But pictures of BR.
So that's how you determine how good a player is. Are they worthy of going online and purchasing in a secondary market Eras Tour tickets to get this player to come here? Do you fit the bill or not?
Do you think that like the coaches, like these big beefy coaches, are like they hear, oh, Eras Tour ticket, you want concert tickets? Like, okay, fine. Like they're probably walking out of that meeting being like, oh, that was a pretty smooth deal. Like, he didn't ask for a car or a house or anything like that.
How much they cost?
He just asked for 10 tickets at 5 different locations for the Eras Tour. That's not that bad. They go back to Jenny at the front desk and she goes, oh, no, honey. Oh no, you don't get it. That's gonna run you. That's gonna run you. That's gonna be.
You sure he doesn't want a car?
He wants 10 tickets. You might as well just get him a Lambo. All right.
Maybe that's why Nebraska didn't get David Sanders.
Did it really come down to
Taylor Swift?
Fred, you gotta give him the Vancouver. Gotta give him the Vancouver concert now, because that's what Washington's offer.
Fred out of his door of his office goes, Nate, we got any Pinewood Bowl tickets? 38 special. Is REO Speedwagon? Hey, Wilhelm, REO Speedwagon?
Does that work
Pinewood
for you?
Bowl outdoors? No mosquitoes?
Kids like outdoors.
He's like a SJ and like The Blind Side. Like Wilhelm comes up, he goes, Oregon's saying they'll give me a private Taylor Swift concert.
Buddy, I'm going to go to Seattle.
And I'm going to make 1-3 and then disappear.
Hey, do you think you could have Kurt Cobain play for me?
Sure,
Coach, we got you.
That might be more realistic than some of the offers that these kids are making at schools on that On3 article.
All right, Brian Edwards will stop by as well with his props and more. That's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Off and rolling on a Thursday. We'll talk a lot of basketball. Also, interesting night in college basketball. The Super Bowl is here and much more. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, so I have an idea here about the halftime show.
Oh, shoot.
You know that the halftime performer does not get paid? Just like if you host the Golden Globes or any of the award shows, you do not get paid.
I did not know that.
I would at least want a T-shirt program.
Now, I think if, like, for example, the Golden Globes, Nikki Glaser, she's probably going to get some residuals.
Oh, sure.
But if you perform at halftime, the NFL doesn't write you a check. So Kendrick Lamar's not getting paid.
Greedy.
But I'm sure that it probably pays itself back.
Yeah.
But what they should have done, and I wonder if this would go over. I know you got to have a celebrity. You got to have a big halftime show. What they should have done, and I hope, and maybe this is the case, you'll see them incorporated into the halftime show or some point on Sunday. Why not have the human jukebox? Why not have the best band in the land perform? You don't think people that don't get an opportunity to watch the Southern band perform would love to see their halftime show?
They've done it before.
They have to be involved in the Super Bowl, right?
Maybe.
Will they? I wonder if Kendrick Lamar will have them. It's the best band in the land. If you've never seen it, go on YouTube. It's amazing what they do.
The Grambling Southern game, that's one of the best parts about that game in the Superdome.
Now, people at home, well, some might be like, oh, man, I enjoy a band
The
performance.
human jukebox.
Not
Look at
Michael Winslow, that was his name, on Police Academy.
You got to, I think the biggest thing about, especially when you do a Super Bowl halftime show and you're not from that area of the land, you always have to do something that honors people from there. You know what I'm saying? Justin Timberlake, best example, does the Prince tribute, right? You gotta bring a little bit flavor. You gotta bring a little bit of a hometown. Like Lil Wayne has to be in this halftime show, right? I don't know if they have announced it though is Weezy just gonna just gonna show up?
Are him and Kendrick getting along?
I don't know. See, I'm not in the rap beef.
I mean,
game.
it changes.
I really don't know.
You're right. It changes by day.
Well, did you see what Drake did?
Yeah.
Where he goes 6-23, but not LeBron.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You got a tattoo of LeBron in your body, and now you're beefing with him. See, they need a website. Like I need a website to go to daily to go, okay,
who's beefing with who?
Yeah, who's beefing with who?
That
just doesn't include rappers. That could be anybody.
Anything.
Like if you're having a public beef, you go to this website and people can see, and so then they can choose sides or, walk gingerly around you because you're beefing with, Kendrick and Drake are having a beef today.
You'll just apply to local media.
You'll just have like some people just have their own page where you just click on them and you see like the 45 people that they're currently beefing with.
And
today we hate.
And you see your latest beef.
Sure.
So you
and
know.
Then, do you get a record? Like there's a clear record, right, of who won and who lost? Like you get a previous beef record?
Yeah, there's an independent agency that
Elias. They're getting into that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Who got dunked on this week would be a great statistic as well. Like who really got eaten on. I would love that. Also, I would love to a website where you can type in lyrics or phrases to songs and then they can
Google.
explain to you. No, like a real translator. Like, ranch, like bag of ranch, what does that even mean? That used to be a real popular saying, I just got a roly bag of ranch. Like I have no idea.
Like cake by the ocean.
Yeah. What does that mean?
You're like, that's odd that you would take a piece of cake and sit by the ocean and eat it.
No Vaseline. What do you mean, Ice Cube? What does that mean?
Speaking of cake.
Hey, hit him up.
That'd be, has Cube done a halftime show? That'd be a halftime show I would watch. So. That'd be a halftime show.
I don't think he was involved in the GOAT second GOAT a couple years ago.
What is your GOAT?
Prince. That was good. And then the one in LA was.
Well, because it was LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Dre and Snoop.
Yeah.
And Eminem. Which from Michigan.
So we at least got off to a good start with guys that are from L.A. Mm-hmm. Then we threw in a guy from Detroit.
I said from Michigan. But
at least
Dre.
the Lions were in the Super Bowl.
He might as well be. I mean, him and Dre, he might as well be from L.A.
I don't know that people confuse Southern California with Southern Detroit.
Yeah, I've been to both.
There's a little bit different.
There's a little bit of a contrast. Yeah.
Maybe when the sun is out, you're like, oh, okay, look in the sky. Hey, they've got the same sun.
They say that Detroit's the new L.A. That's what they say.
I can make a comment.
I know.
But I am a huge fan of Southern California. But Detroit has grown on me. What they've done in the city of Detroit, especially down by the ballpark and the arena and the Little Caesars, they have revitalized downtown Detroit. Now, there's still a lot of teams that go in there and like play the Tigers that stay way out in the burbs.
Sure.
They're not staying down by the old Joe Louis.
They're not over at 8 Mile.
Yeah. See, there are parts of Detroit they don't show you on the drone.
Sure.
And they're like, hey, Sunday Night Football at Ford Field.
I was about to say, when they're doing the
Are those
overhead
fireworks?
shots,
those are gunshots, Mike.
When they're doing the overhead shots of Detroit, it's like, why have they played the same clip 4 times over? Like when we're heading from out of break into Tarico.
Is
like,
that
why
RoboCop?
is that? Why is it this? They've shown the same shot over and over and over again. Can we see more of Detroit? No, you can't.
Here's the Silver Dome. Rest in peace.
It will never be though as bad as when they did the Boston Red Sox versus New York Yankees, and then they put the 2 logos in the middle of the 9/11 memorial. It will never get as tone deaf as that, and just as inappropriate as that for overhead city shots. I mean, that is a low. If anyone ever clears that, that'll be. I mean, I don't know what you show outside of that to get worse than that.
Into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Zach writes in, Zach rides the roller coaster of Nebraska basketball.
I think this is my favorite tradition, by the way, after every Nebraska basketball game, you reading Zach's emails.
So Zach has put himself out there. He says, if they come back and beat Ohio State on Sunday, then I'll start talking about the NCAA tournament again, but not until then.
Okay.
I've been watching this program for decades. And I've seen them piss all over themselves down the stretch too many times to think it can't happen again. I don't know. Last night's second half may have changed some people's opinion, or at least said, okay, this might be a little different. Because that would have been easy again. Cash it in. You got your 1 win. You're down double figures at halftime. They're shooting lights out. We're shooting okay. But, but Fred said, not so fast. But if they win, so Shelby Mast has them as an 11, not in a play-in game.
Oh, okay.
So the one where they get to go.
So he has them on the good side of the cut line. Also, one thing that has benefited Nebraska is other teams that are on the bubble with them have had a bad week.
Okay.
So Nebraska has chosen a good week to win on the road. He's got them as the third 11. He's got Creighton still as the last 7.
It's been good too. Like UCLA's been Nebraska's wins have been upholding for the most part. Creighton's been playing very well. UCLA's been playing very well. Illinois had a rough one yesterday. I mean, they just look discombobulated. I mean, I don't know. They just look disconnected on that floor. And then Dylan Harper coming back from the clouds for Rutgers to win basically a must-win game. It was crazy when they on the Big Ten Network. I don't know if you're watching, but it was like shock throughout the studio when they announced that Dylan Harper was going to play. And so they tried him out there.
Benefit that first half for Rutgers.
Oh, big time. But Oregon had a really good game yesterday, too. I don't think Oregon's going to fall off the map or anything like that. Michigan just executed really well down the stretch. They were competitive yesterday. I mean, they
were down
stuck
14.
But they stuck in and they got it to an end of the game situation where they could foul and they were extending the game. But Michigan, they got it within 3. I mean, they had a couple 3-pointers on the end. Now they got to the really toxic basketball mindset of, hey, we're down 3. We're just going to keep shooting threes until we tie, even though there's 6 minutes left to play in the game. But kudos to Michigan and Dusty May. Last couple of weeks in college basketball, we've seen teams down the stretch missing free throws, games that get extended, get really, really competitive and sketchy down the stretch. Michigan yesterday, it was super impressive. 7 of 7 from the free throw line, just shut down that game completely at home. Big win for them.
I'm shaky on Oregon. They still have them as a 7 here. At 16-7, but they got to go to Michigan State.
It's going to be a tough game.
I don't know. They're a confusing team because I look at their talent and go, why do they struggle so much? And then they lose to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. They shouldn't have lost to Nebraska.
Plain and simple. I mean, they've lost 4 in a row. So they lost at Minnesota, at UCLA, at Michigan. Now look, they'll get Northwestern, Rutgers, Iowa, which could be a 3-0 stretch for them if they can right the ship. But at Michigan on Saturday, that's going to be a tough game. 11 a.m. tip.
Michigan State.
11 a.m. tip.
Nice. I'll be awake.
9 a.m. body clock. Screw them people from the West Coast.
Yeah. We get up a lot earlier. We're fine by 9.
I don't think I could live on the West Coast just because of the time.
I could. Give me a 3:30 Super Bowl.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just so used to 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. Football.
You get older, 10 a.m.
11 a.m. football. Like, I don't think I could do 9 a.m. college football.
But you have to look at the back end.
Yeah.
Sure.
That when the last game is over,
you
can go out for drinks or dinner, and you've watched a full day of college football.
That's a good point.
Now, the NFL, the NFL takes a little bit getting used to because you're not at 10 a.m. all of a sudden you're playing a football game.
Yeah.
But the last game is at 1. You're done by 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then Sunday Night Football is over.
5:30.
Is over,
8:30 or so.
Yeah.
I like having friends on the West Coast, though, because I
friends.
get to call them. I get to call them later in the night. If it's like if I'm bored at like 8 p.m. and I'm not doing anything, I get to be like, oh, they just got off of work. Like they're probably moving and driving or whatever. I can talk to them. I do like that. I like having friends on the West Coast. I just don't want to be on the West Coast.
Just don't have friends that live on the West Coast but deal with East Coast people.
Oh, that's got to be hell.
So their workday begins a lot earlier.
Sure.
Yep. All right, here is Cody to kick off the morning. Good morning, Cody.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I got my coffee in and I'm ready to go. Hey, I was watching the big Jay Skur fan. I tend to lean more towards the Blue Jays because they have better seasons typically, but I always follow Nebraska basketball. And I was listening to your guys' show yesterday, and you guys said that if they're over 10 3-pointers, that's the most they've had all season in a game, and then they start out 7 of 7, which was ridiculous. And then I don't know what they finished with, but of course leave it to Nebraska to let them shoot 7 of 7 in the first 7 minutes. And then I watched a little bit before I went to bed, and I caught this morning and saw that they won. But yeah, it looked ugly there in the first half.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just wanted to say you guys pointed out a good stat yesterday, and I think they probably broke it last night playing Nebraska. So,
Cody, thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
Good troll call. The part of, again, read people's tweets in the first half and then read people's tweets in the second half. That's why we play 40 minutes. That's what it told me in the Wooden book, is that basketball is not a first 20-minute game. The one thing about Washington's quick start, which was kind of unreal, is they were difficult shots. There were maybe a couple that were open, but it's not like, they hit some shots. You have to tip your cap. But when you get on a run like that, because they came in averaging about 8 threes a game, 6.6 threes a game, and they had 7 in the first 8 minutes of the game, you're like, oh, game's over.
Yeah.
But they regressed to the mean. And the crazy stat about the way the game started last night is, recite the stat of final 3-point shooting last night.
Nebraska
ended up with 11, right?
11. Had 11. They were 11 of 19
Washington
for the 3-point
finished
line.
with 9?
They finished with 9. They made 8. They went 8 of 8 to begin the game. And then in the second half, they went 1 of 9 to finish. Crazy. Look, Nebraska, it was one of those things where I was watching the game, and I'm like, Washington should not be up 13. Washington should be up 19. Washington should be up 22. Washington should be up 24. The fact that they were only up 13 at that stretch was absolutely ridiculous. And you're right. I think there was only like 2. There was one where it was just a good slide, good rotation, good swing, just clean 3, hit it. And then there was that fast break 3 where no one was guarding the point guard down the court. They just missed their assignment. He hit 3. Other than that, it was contest everywhere. There was that. I think the 8th one was all the way in the corner with a closing out Buchton gel and just hit it right in front of his face.
So the opposite in the game before that, I'm like, how is Creighton only up 1?
Oh, well, it was the bench. Zugic and Trout, like they just could not make those threes. And like, kudos to Providence. Like they were allowing those guys to take those shots, and they weren't going to allow Ashworth to pull up from ridiculous, parts of the court and hit him on threes.
Is anybody going to give me any love because I love the Nebraska basketball uniform and also the uniform combo last night, which was a perfect 942 tip uniform combo. Ooh, Washington.
That looked like the old Sacramento Kings. You remember the Sacramento Kings, the gold, like gold and purple, like metallic jerseys? Do you remember those jerseys?
I don't.
No, you got to look those
I
up.
I remember
it
the
looks
baby
like
blues.
a college couch. It was ridiculous. You got to look those up.
So
they
there
were
were stains on
disgusting.
them?
No, Mike Bibby wore them.
They popped a little bit odd. Like when you turned on the game last night, if you began on the app before the game before it got over, like you immediately saw that uniform combo and you're like, but can I get some credit? My uniform is 2-0. You guys are dogging on this uniform.
Ugly. It is so ugly.
No, it's not.
It is so ugly.
It looks like
it is an
it looks like a
uniform.
nice NBA alternate uniform.
It looks like they went on
I think
1 hour T-shirts to make like intramural basketball. It looks like they're trying to make intramural basketball T-shirts.
If you're winning, you got to wear them.
And they didn't want to pay the premium on like getting the bigger logos. Like, hey, John, we're gonna have to pay $29.99 if we make this image any bigger.
If they lose on Sunday and they're not wearing that uniform, you know why.
It's true.
I'm just saying.
So are you now claiming this uniform as like your baby and good luck charm? So now like your argument to it being ugly and you liking them is, well, they're winning in them, so they must look good.
I was on record right away before they won last night that I liked that uniform, and y'all were like, oh, that is the worst thing. Why don't they go on dodgeball?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It looks like a dodgeball uniform.
What'd they do? Did someone hijack the uniform bag when it went out to the West Coast, so they had to go to the 5 and dime to get the uniforms?
It's an N, right?
No. It's a good-looking uniform. And they're 2-0 in it, and I think they should wear it on Sunday.
It's like the O2 football
Raleigh
uniforms.
Wooster looks like he is in dodgeball when he wears those long sleeve with the short sleeve T-shirt under that jersey. He looks like he's an average Joe's dodgeball player.
I haven't asked him, but I bet if I pressed him, he would say, I play better in that uniform.
He went 1 for 6 yesterday, so I don't know if he would agree with that.
What did he do on defense?
He looked really good, and he played 35 minutes for a reason, Gary.
Thank you. Nebraska basketball doesn't have an abundance of guys that are good on both ends of the floor, so we got to take our wins. We got to take our wins where we can get them.
You're asking for too much, Matt. You're asking for too much. Raleigh's fine. He doesn't need to score.
Yeah. He's that one guy that I'd love to see the scouting report that they're like, hey, when 24 has the ball, back off.
He's like that one kid. You're like, hey, you ask your friends who play intramurals, like, are you good at basketball? Well, they really like me for defense and hustle. Okay, so it means you can't shoot.
Go get him, kid.
Yeah.
They've won 3 in a row.
Hey, no one's complaining.
All right, one in the books, Steve Sipple, a little bit later. Plus, we'll talk some Super Bowl. From Nolans on 1620 The Zone. All right, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome in on the 6th of February, Super Bowl week.
Hey-o.
I think the only reason, now I think it'll flip, that the Eagles will be the favorite by the time we get to kick off, just like the previous Super Bowl matchup between the two. I think the only reason that the Kansas City Chiefs are favored is Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
That is the only reason. There's a lot of things that say that the Eagles are so much better than the Chiefs. We got 15, you don't.
I had this conversation with somebody that I really think that Vegas got scared from last year's Super Bowl run, because how many games in a row were the Kansas City Chiefs underdogs? I think they were underdogs all the way through, right? They were underdogs against
they were expected to go
the Ravens.
17.
I mean, they were underdogs throughout that entire playoff run, and I think everybody was sitting there being like, how can you not bet the Chiefs with points? Mm-hmm. Vegas gets hammered. And I think that really scared them off. Like, no matter what, like, even if like the Eagles have the more talented roster and have been playing better football and have been beating people by larger margins, it does not matter. You got Pat Mahomes. You just cannot give Pat Mahomes that many points. So I think that's literally just what it is.
Yeah.
And that's how you know he's one of the greatest of all time.
You got to get up 50 on him to have a chance.
I think you're joking, but I think you're right.
No, it's half joke, but it's half in your mind. You're like
it's tongue in cheek.
We're up by 10. That's not enough.
You guys were down with 13 seconds left.
We need another touchdown.
You had 13. We joked.
I don't
we're
know if
sitting
you
in front of
the Chiefs are 12-0 in one possession games. Thank you.
We're sitting in front of the TV.
Steve DeBerg wasn't doing that.
And Buffalo scores, and there's 13 seconds left in the game. And I very jokingly say to my buddy, left too much time for Mahomes, and it got met with chuckles and laughter. And then what happened? In 13 seconds, Tyreek Hill, then Travis Kelce, then Harrison Butker, then the Chiefs are moving on.
You just got up in front of your friends like, who called it?
No, I didn't say who called it. I was like, this is ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it, and I will never see anything like it after.
Until he does it with 12
seconds.
You got
15, man. And I got Trubisky.
A couple things here.
Got you.
JD wants to know, let's ask the question on everyone's mind.
Yeah, I want to know this too.
What Super Bowl snacks will be served at your castle on Sunday?
Mm-hmm. You do eat. You do eat, or you wait till after, kind of see how it goes?
I
know you said you don't have too many beverages. You just maybe sip on one.
I may drink a lot this weekend. Let's see. Omaha plays at 1.
Nice.
You know what sucks this weekend?
What sucks?
That Marquette and Creighton play at 1.
Yeah.
North Dakota State and Omaha play at 1. They're both like huge games.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't we stagger them?
I was about to. That sucks.
I know hockey is at Baxter Arena. That actually should be a night game.
That should be a night game. North Dakota State versus Omaha is a massive game.
But North Dakota State plays at Kansas City tonight, so they're traveling. So they're playing at 1. So maybe it's an advantage. But I wish that game was at night. But I think I'm going to drink heavily this weekend after our game.
That's good.
Yeah, so I will be prepared. Well, Nebraska basketball plays at 1 on Sunday. I will be properly prepared at 5:30. I don't eat a lot. I don't eat much anymore anyhow, but
sure.
There'll be a wide variety of snacks, but I don't like to eat until after the game.
Right. You do put a lot of effort into your spread for your guest, or are you more so, all right, we're going to get chips and dip and we'll buy the pre-made.
There's a bag of Tostitos. Figure it out.
No, I have a plan.
Okay.
I can't let people down.
Exactly. See, I'm all about hospitality. Okay.
I can see that.
You are the entertainer. I will say that.
I love hospitality.
You brought us coffee. We didn't have coffee before.
I love making people feel good. I love, there's no such thing. And this is not me. I know we make jokes about, I did this when I was in college and I was a part-time worker.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as BYOB in Matt McMaster's domicile.
Okay.
I have the beers. I have the alcohol. You don't have to bring anything. Just bring yourself. And then, if I ever come to your place and I'm like, hey, can I grab a beer? There's a mutual understanding of that's
you don't
all.
Have to ask Matt. Help yourself.
Exactly. I'm all about hospitality. So I like that you actually put care into your spread, because I just don't like the whole, hey, come over for the game. And then it's like, oh, clearly you made a 10-minute target run and you put no really thought or effort into doing this. I'm a big charcuterie board.
Give it away.
I love a charcuterie board. So I do a homemade charcuterie board for every Sunday, right? We got the prosciutto, got the cheese, got the capicola, got the salami.
Nice.
You get the gherkins in there, maybe add in a couple blueberries, get the brie cheese, and then you mix in some peach jam for some sweetness.
I think probably
watch that football in
the group of people that I watch the game with, or because I'm very selective on.
You have to be.
Superstition?
No, not superstition. I just don't want people talking to me during the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with them watching the game with me, but I don't want them to talk to me. Right. Like, we don't need to have, let's break down the game. Let's just watch the friggin' game. And then when the game is over, depending on if my team wins or not, you're either leaving my house immediately or we're going to enjoy some libations.
Yes.
We'll go out on the patio and we'll have a cigar.
Oh,
yeah. So
this isn't like the Seinfeld finale.
Like, I just like to watch the game. I don't want to get into this long, like breaking down the game as it's happening. Let's just watch the game. You know, you got food, you got drink, help yourself. I'm not here to babysit. I invited you over. Watch the game. You got to put up with my idiosyncrasies while I'm watching my team. Then I'm going to pace. I'm going to talk to the TV.
Sorry.
I'm going to do other things.
But you're in my house eating my food, having my drink, so you're going to deal with it.
Speaking of food and drink, the Board of Regents tomorrow is going to meet. They're going to consider Aramark the concessions contract for Nebraska, which is a well-known organization that does concessions across the country. And we kind of touched on this briefly because the staples are vowels. You talked about your vowels story.
Yes.
You've got the red dye and you got the Runza. And I got to thinking, because I don't know what this third-party vendor, which does also quite a few other Big Ten schools, what they will add or what they will keep.
They did the
but those are three staples. I imagine that they will find a way in the contracts, however they work, to keep those in the stadium because people look forward to them. But honest question here, has anybody of late enjoyed or purchased a Val's Pizza outside of Memorial Stadium?
2013.
Like, have you ever had a piece of Val's Pizza in Memorial Stadium and said, you know what? I bet if I go over to 70th in Lincoln, I got to get me one as well.
First day we moved here, we ordered one just to get our Nebraska on, and then we started exploring the rest of the city.
So since graduating college.
Yeah, because you're a go to the game, get a Val's slice.
Yeah. But since graduating college.
Not yet.
No. And I'm going to be honest with you. Not to slander them or anything.
There's no buffet.
It's good at the game. Like, it's a game thing.
Thank you.
Like,
it's okay to say that. You don't need to slander them. It's absolutely true.
It's just it's just one of those things where it's like, I get my fill for vows going to the games. And that's kind of where I need it. And I'm fine because I go to every game. So I have 7 to 14 Val's pizzas or slices of pizza a year. And that's totally, hey, I could get to 2 slices of pizza in a game. If it's a close game and I'm stressed and I had too many drinks in the parking lot and I need to sober up, I can hammer 2 Val's hamburger slices.
Oh, yes.
Scarf them, dude. I'm disgusting at games. I'm just a disgusting human at any sort of football game.
I can't eat during games. And I imagine that they will expand some of their options.
Pepperoni.
And I don't know if that, like, Memorial Stadium strikes me as a place that people want to be very simple, unless you're sitting in the bougie seats.
Right.
Where you have access to, some more fine dining or wider options. I think people just want the basic staples at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah. But that's what I like about it.
But Aramark is known for giving options. I don't know what the pricing will be like. But it's not I've been in this world before. It's not a bad idea to have a third-party vendor take care of your food and beverage. Now, the thing, though, that I think is important when you look at like our local venues that all have a third-party venue or a third-party vendor, excuse me. Nobody is in control of their own food and beverage. It's quite the undertaking. We did it with the Twins. I mean, it's a gigantic undertaking.
I'm sure.
But it's easier to ship it out and you sign a nice contract and you know the money that's coming in for you and you let them take care of all the staffing and all that kind of stuff. But we like local around here. And now that we're going to be able to drink in Memorial Stadium, I mean, the staples will be there, but will there be options for local brews? Like, can I get some cross strain?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Can Nebraska Brewing. Like, can I get local options?
Can I get Glacier Till?
That might be a little bit of an extreme.
Could I get a keg from Boiler
cider? You don't think people would like a cider at a game? Because Glacier Till, I mean, that is.
Is it something like low sugar ones? Or?
Yeah, I mean, they can get sugary. Okay. It depends on which flavor you got. I get what you're saying, though. I don't want to deter from your point.
That seems like to be a little bit off the radar.
But I like where you're going. Keep going. Like it's a good slant.
So I wonder, Nebraska football again. They haven't been successful since they used to be able to do Coke. Or
the Cowboys.
I used to be able to go and get 2 crisp meats for $5 in Memorial Stadium.
Damn it. That would have been so good.
It was glorious. It was a game changer. I believe that.
No wonder they won.
I believe it has really impacted Nebraska football. I mean, the players may not realize it because they're not going to the concession stand at halftime, but they have to feel it from the fans that they don't have the same energy because they're not snarfing down the crisp meat or they're not drinking their Coke.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead, they got this crappy Pepsi. And so they don't have the same, the same gusto to cheer for their team.
They don't have the juice anymore.
Like, can you imagine when they do?
There's less sodium and sugar running through the veins of people, and so they don't have enough energy.
You know what would change the product on the field with the players and their engagement with the fans?
What would do it, Gary?
They used to have that stupid Pepsi race. You know what? People look at that and go, if they had Coke against Diet Coke, people would get jacked.
Sure.
Stadium would start rocking. You'd think you're back in the 90s. And then you'd hope on the field that they played like that. But with that said, I wonder if they will dabble and open it up to some local fare that would make a run at being in Memorial Stadium.
I would like that. I think that would be great. I think that would be awesome for a lot of parties involved. But I will say this. Stadiums now are getting fancier and fancier, okay? Especially within the city that I grew up in. But like, you go to other stadiums as well. They have all these new fancy different concession stands and items and clubs and amenities and suites and hotels. Like, those things used to be cool because they weren't in those stadiums. That wasn't that was a novel thing to have.
Are you saying that the Sky Dome was ahead of its time?
We're getting too
especially
fancy
that hotel in left field.
Stadiums. I'm getting sick and tired of every stadium having, you can come to this and you can have foie gras and you can have a steak sandwich and you can have a tater tots with,
I had the same reaction, Jimmy. Nobody's going to a football stadium and having flog or rog.
No, but I'm just saying we're getting too fancy.
I don't remember that at Texas Stadium.
We're getting too fancy in these concession stands. Okay. I want to get sloppy. I want the hot dogs and the pizzas, and I want the disgusting food. I don't need any of these fancy ass amenities that are more expensive anymore. Just give me the trash.
Would you say you're disgusting
filth.
At a game?
I'm disgusting. I want the filth. I don't want to eat nice food. I just want to drink crappy beer and have food that I'm going to feel terrible about myself in the morning.
That's inspiring.
I don't want to sit in these,
my A1C's gone down
leather sweet seats. I want to be in the dumps. I want to be in the trenches. Hurting, I want to be fighting. I want to feel the environment.
I don't know if you're in the club seats at Memorial Stadium. Life is pretty good.
I've sat in the club seats at Memorial Stadium. They're pretty great. They're pretty great.
I'm not going to join. I'm not going to join that campaign with you. So let's play a game here, shall we?
Sure.
Let's play knockout.
Okay.
With the 3 main food items at Memorial Stadium. We're going to cut, we're going to eat, and we're going to kill.
Okay.
Valentino's Pizza, Fairbury brand hot dogs, and Runza. Cut, eat, kill.
Should I go first?
You can go first because you have dropped a food item on the show that's never been mentioned before, and you've done it twice in 2 weeks. Flogger-Ronner.
Foie gras. Foie gras.
There is no...
Foie gras. Foie gras. It's duck liver.
Frog Rock has never been close to Memorial Stadium ever.
I didn't say it was in Memorial Stadium. I'm just saying across the country, we're getting all these.
I could walk across the street to the Champions Club, and I'm not getting Frog Rock.
I am killing Runza. Okay? I'm killing Runza. I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut the Fairbury hot dog, and I'm going to take my Valentino's pizza. But I am, without a doubt, killing Runza. It just sits like a lead pipe in my stomach. I'm not saying it tastes bad or anything like that. I'm just a weak human when it comes to my gut, and I just can't. That and an Arby's beef sandwich. Like, those are the 2 things that I just cannot eat. It just sits like a lead pipe.
Your food consumption is the most random, Hell yeah.
You're disgusting, yet you draw the line at a roast beef sandwich?
Well, you got to get the beef and cheddar.
So,
That's
Jimmy,
true.
cut, eat, kill. Val's, Runza, Fairbury brand hot dogs.
Okay, the hot dog gets killed. I'm gonna.
Wow, you're killing it.
I like the hot dog, but you got to kill something.
Let him finish.
Yeah,
let him finish.
I'm always team pizza, so I'm gonna keep the pizza, and then we'll cut the Runza. I like a cheese.
We are going to eat the Fairbury brand hot dog.
I knew it.
Fairbury brand hot dog is Memorial Stadium.
Knew it.
You know what? You don't have a pizza schlinger, do you?
True.
You don't have a Runza schlinger.
No.
You have the Derveliner schlinger. Okay, so we have a hot dog launcher.
I can't argue.
Okay, that is automatically at the top. Like, think about this.
Anything that you can schling.
Hell yeah. I mean, I schling it all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, just put it out there.
Yeah.
Hey,
CWS, it's hot.
The wonderful people in Fairbury, when they took your hot dog plant away and they moved it to northeastern Nebraska, and then we moved it out of state. It was a sad day. But you know what? The hot dog has remained at Memorial Stadium. Memorial Stadium may fall down, and they may get rid of Memorial Stadium, but you know what's going to be left on the field will be a red dye. You cannot replicate the red dye in Memorial Stadium. I've tried many times. I have tried where the water in my pan turns bright red, and it doesn't taste the same.
Jeez.
It just doesn't.
You really like these things. You tried homemade red dye.
No, you can go to the grocery store and buy them.
You can go to the grocery store.
So for the longest time, when Fairbury brand hot dogs like really took off, and they were
in their glory days,
they were marketing, and you'd go to Buck Belcher Field, or you'd go to the Coliseum, or Memorial Stadium, or the Devaney Center, and you'd have one, and you'd pair it with the malt cup, which America gone wrong. When the malt cup started to have less of an influence,
sure,
we really lost it. But they never perfected the wooden spoon, and the wooden spoon became worse, and it would break off. That's a whole nother story. We'll do that on the podcast. But the hot dog has remained. It's a staple of Nebraska athletics. Can you imagine if this new company came in and said, you know what, we're going to farm out our hot dog. We're all of a sudden going to have Nathan's. People would lose their mind.
I agree.
People would quit.
I agree.
They would encourage Creighton to have football, or UNO to bring it back because they're not going to support the team in Lincoln. So the hot dog is always the eat. The cut would be the Runza. And I would kill the Valentino's pizza. Wow. Here's another thing about Valentino's. First of all, it's very expensive. Okay?
True.
Okay, and I think the quality of the Valentino's pizza has deteriorated
I would agree.
when they started to shut down the buffets.
Yeah.
The standalone Val's pizza is not as good as the pizza you went to the buffet and just gorged yourself on Havelock in Lincoln or on 108th here in Omaha, and you're like, this is glorious.
Or
it
in
is
Grand
taking
Island
a step
before
back.
You call a game.
I will say this, with the Valentino's pizza buying in at the game, you can get stuck with a bad slice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little cold,
little solid, and you got to be strategic. Now, this is not a joke.
You're gonna, cheese on the box.
You're gonna think I'm crazy, but the little kids are walking around and they have the Valentino's pizzas right there, and that's typically I don't really go up to the stand. I find a kid and I buy it from the kid, and so there have been times where the kid's walking around with like 2 pieces of pizza, and I go, "Have you been walking around for a while?" This is an actual question. Have you been walking around for a while? Because if they go,
stranger danger,
I'm not going to buy it from them, because that's probably cold pizza. But if they're walking around with a stack all the way up to their head, I'm running up to them because I know that's going to be a hot, juicy piece of hamburger Valentino's pizza. I love how we're all opposites. We literally are all opposites.
I think you can't go wrong with any of these. I would eat all 3 right now, but that's also because I'm hungry.
You know what they should do? They should do like NASCAR, and you can bring in your own food.
Candlestick was like that.
You can bring in your own food to NASCAR?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that. I went to my first NASCAR event at Homestead.
Okay.
And people are walking in with coolers. And I was like, how is that
legal?
Like, they would bring in coolers.
Yeah.
And they would put them right between their legs as they're sitting. And it would be beer and it would be food. And I was like, are these special seats? Did we not get the memo? And the guy behind us who had a cooler, he said, oh, yeah. He said NASCAR he said, I don't know about every track, but NASCAR allows you to bring in your own food. Now, this would never, ever in your wildest dreams happen at a place like Memorial Stadium or the Chai or Baxter Arena.
Huge cooler.
No. I mean, I can go to a movie and bring in my own food. I can't go to Memorial Stadium. I mean, I would be cuffed and stuffed. But at NASCAR, yeah, You can bring in. I'm pretty sure this is the same.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't been to a NASCAR event in about 4 years. But I'm pretty sure it's still the same, that you can bring your own food.
I'm going to my first NASCAR event this year, so I
ask them.
I'd be like Food King on Animal House. I'd be stuffing stuff in there.
Can you bring your own food into NASCAR? Unlike a lot of other sporting leagues, and seemingly one of NASCAR's biggest appeals, outside food and drink are allowed in your cooler as you enter the track. This can range from simple snacks as crackers and peanuts to even sandwiches if you're looking to get through the weekend as cheaply as possible. So I think that is a just blanketed rule. What would you bring in? If you could walk into Memorial Stadium with a cooler, what are you bringing in? Are you still because here's the thing, are you still bringing in Fairbury hot dogs?
No, because I only get them at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah. So what would you bring in?
Park.
What would you bring in? Can inject something you like.
Alcohol for sure.
Yeah. Obviously.
I don't know. Probably some. I don't know. I go chips. I can't see myself sitting in the South Stadium in row 66.
Lay's potato chips.
Okay, just diving into a bag of chips or Bugles.
This is what you brought.
You brought gummy worms,
and you're
damn it, Shark.
Gary, you brought gummy bears.
I would probably have some sandwiches.
So I was gonna say I would love to bring in like salami mayo sandwiches, just a little bit cool, just. Piece white bread, salami, mayo, white bread. You bring in 2 of those suckers. You put them on ice. They get a little cool. They get a little frigid with a nice 6-pack of Miller Lite. Nothing better. Nothing better.
I would drink the Miller Lite with you. Solid.
You know what they should do at Haymarket Park? They had this big dream after coming back from Fayetteville where they saw the hog pen or whatever they were calling it down there in left field where they had grills and stuff. So that was a Bill Moose idea. Still said to me, he said, Will Bolt, hey, whatever you want, you can have. They should let people on the Big Ten weekends at Haymarket Park, you're only in that area. You can't go outside of that area.
Sure.
But in left field,
you get to bring what you want.
Students can bring coolers. You can just hang out.
Oh, my God.
I remember
how awesome that would be?
I remember doing games back in the day before Iowa State dropped baseball. Iowa State's a wet campus.
Okay.
People could bring their own coolers. So students would come to watch at Cap Tim Field, Iowa State baseball. And back then, if there wasn't room in the press box, they'd put the visiting radio outside. And you'd be sitting with students that had like a pony keg or they'd have a cooler and they were just sitting there drinking. That's what they should do on Big Ten weekends at Haymarket Park.
That'd be so
Left
cool.
field, you can only stay there. You can't roam around, but you can bring your own coolers. You can cook stuff on the grill.
You don't understand. My friend group and I would be out at Haymarket Park every single weekend if they did that. Every single weekend,
hey,
we
they
would
should
be out there.
I haven't seen the designs for the new baseball softball for Creighton, but what if they had something like that?
That'd be cool. That'd be a selling point
to get students to come to a baseball game or a softball game. You let them sit out on the berm,
that'd be so
and they
awesome.
can bring whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That's a great idea, Gary. I hope they do that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll re-enroll into a school. Maybe I'll go to grad school so I can get that deal.
Many people in our business do.
People at Aramark are going, not a friggin' chance.
You're going to get
You're going to take money out of our pocket?
Yeah, no. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what the Board of Regents meeting is and everything. Do you think there's a legitimate shot you go from Coke to Pepsi, or is that kind of a...
No.
It's a running
bit Pepsi
on
to
this
Coke.
show.
The Board of Regents are in the way.
Yeah.
So
figured.
Hey, I like the guys from Coke here in town. I know them pretty well. And they've been very aggressive. Coke is taking over the city of Omaha. Like they're winning battles. They are.
Especially out in richer neighborhoods.
Coke is
winning.
Coke is where the fan is. And we're running Pepsi out of town, but we can't get them out of UNL. So it's not just Memorial Stadium, it's the whole campus.
Yeah.
But one of the best things Omaha Athletics has done, we're a Coke school. Every visiting radio guy that comes in, I go, we're a Coke school.
So Sam's going to take like 10 in this bag tomorrow.
I don't want to out him, but my good friend who's the Denver radio guy, I said, we're a Coke school. Next thing I know, I look over and he's stuffing bottles of Coke into his duffel bag.
Not judging.
Hey, it's great. See,
I don't blame him.
Here's the thing. It's pretty clear. I like Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very apparent right now how much you love this product.
If we could have McDonald's do the Diet Coke inside a Memorial Stadium.
That's true. You're the one who turned me on to that.
I might have a kid and name him Devaney. But But Coke tried, because when they got Omaha, they tried to do Lincoln, and somebody said, not so fast, my friends. And all of a sudden, Pepsi like upped it. But the best thing that Coke has done is Coke is like promoting. Like I see more references to Omaha Athletics in like grocery stores here because Coke is behind is helping out their marketing. So Pepsi in Nebraska, the UNL, have I think a lucrative deal.
Gotta be, right?
So
they're in cahoots.
Well,
Grant writes in on the chat. RC Cola? Are you an RC? Do you like RC Cola?
My dad liked RC Cola.
Yeah,
you get at Laker games.
Like I'm like, Dad, you're making good money. Why are we so cheap? Like they get Diet Right.
Yeah, but you know what you like. RC Cola is great. I love RC.
Big 12 tournament.
You get a
RC
big.
Cola.
There's nothing better than ordering a Lou Malnati's pizza and getting that 2-liter of RC Cola. Oh,
it's like our Pepsi at Pizza
Coca-Cola and RC, aren't they owned by the same? Isn't it the same company too?
Coca-Cola and Pepsi?
No, Coca-Cola and RC. Are they under the same branch?
They might be.
They might be.
A couple of tweets here. Don Manek says, how about a Fresca?
No.
Work for Len Dawson.
Andrew says, about every other month, I get a slice of Val's Pizza. Now, not just to totally out myself that I'm very upset that the buffets have gone away for Val's. Their lunch special. So over on Leavenworth, they have like a little standalone, little small shop. It's a carry out, but they offer a lunch special.
Yeah.
The Val's lunch special is really good.
Okay.
I go to their location on Millard Avenue and get the lunch special. Yes. Bread, spaghetti, pizza slice, salad, and drink for $11.
Damn.
How would people feel about this? So Godfather's has a special connection to Creighton.
Do it.
What if Godfather's replaced Val's and Memorial State?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was offering that up.
No. Don't get me wrong. Godfather's great pizza. Godfather's love to eat it. Godfather's enjoy it. Godfather's, don't get me wrong. Okay? Great place.
He's our friend.
But Val's and UNL is Val's and UNL. It's just one of those.
Yeah.
It's the
like option
just
football
for me. No, it is. It's just Valentino's Pizza in Memorial Stadium. The world is right. Just it is what it is. We don't got to be changing that stuff. Love God. Don't get me wrong. It has nothing to do with the quality of the pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with the fact of sentimental value for me. That I just love to eat Val's Pizza at Memorial Stadium.
What's your thing about change?
No. But this
tradition.
No. This.
Oh, now we're selfish.
Hey, no. I ain't dead. I'm very much alive. I like Val's Pizza at Memorial Stadium.
Ed says, I can't remember the last time that I specifically sought out something to eat at Memorial Stadium. I take care of my business in the parking lot.
Fair.
And I take care of my business after the game. He goes, the last thing I want to do is stand in line for a slice of pizza or a runza, regardless of how Husker it is. And if they're going to add these new sandwiches or whatever else, that's not for me. Give me back my Memorial Stadium.
He's a part of the sloppy gang. All right. We just want it sloppy. We want disgusting food. Mike emails into the Equitable Bank inbox. Miller Lite, arguably one of the worst beers ever. As you grow older, you'll appreciate the finer beers, like craft beers that actually have taste to them. You know what, Mike? I like what I like, and I'm never going back. Miller Lite forever.
But you got to have a good cheap beer for a tailgate. So that's where you say the Miller Lite. That's fine.
Miller Lite isn't a good cheap beer.
It's a great
Miller Lite
beer.
is a great beer.
It is great taste and less filling.
We were
96 calories, 3.2 carbs.
Speaking of beer, all right. What would you rather drink, Dasani or Mick Ultra? I think they're the same.
They are.
You know, we were talking about attendance yesterday. I have not seen any data on beer sales.
Oh, that'd be good data.
But tell you, from going to Pinnacle Bank Arena, it's you were saying the students get after it, and I see more students getting beer. I mean, they're fine, but I don't notice a lot of people drinking at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
So the lines are long. Like when I go to get it, because I sit in the 300 section when I go, the lines are long. And so I don't know if that's maybe a contradictory point to you that people are drinking, or maybe it's just that it takes a while for them to get beers out, and people go to the lines and they're like, too long. I'm not going to make it to the break. And then they push it off and they push it off. And then last call can come pretty quickly at a basketball game. Like if a basketball game's moving really, really fast, like you can get beer sales done, cut off pretty rapidly. So I don't know. I mean,
maybe it's a mindset because
you're there more than I am. So you got a better idea.
When I go to a Creighton basketball game, I immediately think about getting a beer. Like I go to an Omaha hockey game, I immediately think about getting a beer.
It's true.
I've been going to, what is it? Been a couple of years now that you could drink at Pinnacle Bank Arena. I don't immediately think, man, I got to go get a beer when I go to a Nebraska basketball game.
That's interesting. Why is it just a psychology thing where you've just for so long you've done without the beer that you don't need the beer?
We associate drinking a beer at a Creighton game.
Yeah.
We don't associate drinking a beer at a Nebraska basketball game.
I like that. I think you're totally right. Because it's you go for so long without doing that. You're accustomed to having your Aquafina and your Pepsi and your fries. You're not thinking immediately, also, too, beer's expensive. You know, like if you have a budget and what you're used to spending at a Nebraska basketball game, and then all of a sudden you add beers to that, it gets out of hand.
One final tweet, and then we got to take a break. We got Steve Sibble coming up in an hour. Fremont Fred on NASCAR. You can't bring an open beer at a NASCAR event in Kansas City. I know that because some a-hole sold me a beer at the gate, opened already, and then the woman working the gate right next to him said, "Chug it and throw it away." And we had a cooler full of beer, but I just paid $8 was open. Well, old man, you'll learn next time.
You'll learn.
Happy 50th birthday to Fremont Fred.
Hey, happy birthday.
Fremont_Fred, if you would like to send him some of the most inappropriate
birthday wishes,
memes, birthday wishes.
He encourages it, though.
He would like that. Billy writes in, Billy Shears, GBR. In the glory days in the 90s, UNL was Coke and had Godfather slices.
Wow.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key.
If we want to be national champs again.
Maybe you're on to something.
What if Rule said, because right now Rule is in a point, he could say, Troy, can we change the color of the uniform? And he'd be like, yeah, we can. But what about those end zones in the championship center? I just made them red. What if Rule said, you know what? My kids love Godfathers. Troy, they love Godfathers. I think more kids would go to the games if we had Godfathers.
They're just running around the house just chanting, Godfathers, Godfathers, Godfathers.
Really, they were just talking about baptisms.
My kids also love Diet Coke. They also love Diet Coke.
And what if he winked?
My kids also love $2 million extra in NIL money.
There is news of somebody that does not like money that we have to share with you when we come back. But then if you like money, we're going to give you a chance to win $100.
Hey, nice transition.
This morning. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs, and I would know, I just did, which players are going off and which ones are ice cold. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion, One Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from, and with their pick'em game, you could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and more. With Underdog's double flex option, you can even take 2 L's and turn them into a W. This week on Underdog, the Spurs are back, and so am I. I'm looking at the NBA, and that's what I did last night. New team, we're going to pick De'Aaron Fox to do some stuff because that's why they traded for him. Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up right now with promo code ZONE. Deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. The biggest game of the year is upon us. No, we're not talking about the Puppy Bowl, though that's Sunday as well. There have been some great ones over the last 6 years, and there have been some duds. Vote now to tell us which one was the best of them all. Vote in the greatest big game bracket and get details online at 1620thezone.com. I don't know if you win something, but the only way to find out is to go look.
All right, a little bit later, coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Josh Klingler, sideline reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network.
Awesome.
James Palmer from NFL Network will join us. That's all in the 9 o'clock hour as we get you ready for the Super Bowl, which is brought to you by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland. I got a question here. Well, let me first mention something. Congratulations. Not to you, but someday I'll say congratulations to you.
Thank you. I look forward to that day.
I've held this long belief in recruiting, high school to college football recruiting in the city, that the University of Minnesota desperately wants a in-state product. They're going to trot Malachi Coleman out there big time, okay? Because PJ Fleck wants to, stir the waters in Nebraska by getting a really good Nebraska player.
He's a lion. He wants to piss on a rock. You don't know that? That's how they mark their territory.
Jared Goff should have done a better job then.
That's a good point.
But he, there's the famous story of when they were recruiting Betts over at Bellevue West. He wouldn't leave him alone. Like, he texted him nonstop, trying to get a commitment.
That's funny.
So PJ has, when it comes to offers he makes in state, usually I go, oh, okay. Good on him. And this is somebody, I've mentioned the name numerous times. His brother plays at Nebraska, has a chance to be the starting cornerback after playing, essentially redshirting, but playing the majority of the Pinstripe Bowl at cornerback. Donovan Jones. Dayron Jones, who is a rising senior at North, who we did 4 television games for North this year. I love the kid. Mm-hmm. I think he is a great player. I like him more as a defensive back than a wide receiver, but Minnesota offered him yesterday. And here's how you know that he's a really good player. Dan Jackson. When Dan Jackson moved from Idaho to New Mexico, one of the first moves he made as a DC was he offered Jones. He knows ball. Minnesota offered him. I am curious to see how quickly Nebraska will offer him because he is going to be a stud. His recruitment will blow up. The other thing about, we haven't mentioned because we've been busy with basketball, Jet Tomala, over at Millard South, state championship quarterback, his offers are starting to rise. And Steve Warren's son, Braylon, who will be a junior at Westside, he is all of a sudden starting to rack up Big 12 offers, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. This will be a very good run in the next couple of years of defensive backs in Omaha. But Dayron Jones, great offer by Minnesota. I would not be surprised to see Nebraska follow up relatively soon for an offer because I think his upside is higher than his brother. And again, I think his brother is going to start at cornerback as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, Jones has offers from Iowa State, South Dakota State, Minnesota. Those are his Power 5 offers, and then he's picked up a New Mexico offer and a Dartmouth offer. Look, it's for Nebraska in general, whenever you have more high school players who are going Power 5, it's better for the state, it's better for the sport in general, because then people start looking and say, oh, Dayron Jones, he's a Power 5 guy. He did pretty well wherever he's going to go, wherever he ends up playing. People are going to have more eyes on that. More eyes on you as a state, more eyes on you in high school football, more guys playing higher levels of football, more guys playing higher levels of football, more investment into the football in the state. It's a trajectory thing, right? It's just always a positive climb when you get more and more guys playing Power 5 football out of Nebraska.
Bryson Williams over at Westside, and then, of course, Torrey Pittman at Central, who is getting, USC, Nebraska, big-time offers. But that's such a smart move by Minnesota. So I don't want it to be reactionary for Nebraska because Nebraska knows about him.
Sure.
But I would not be surprised if Nebraska has an offer that is coming sooner than later. Shannon writes in to the Equitable Bank inbox. Oklahoma State has corrals in the outfield.
Golden corrals?
No, a different kind, but good, yeah.
No.
What's a corrals in the outfield?
Where they have suites.
Okay.
I think I got to look at this.
I'm an anti-suite
SUITE.
guy. I'm not an. What these stadiums, like they clear out, more and more stadiums are doing this, and especially in pro baseball, where they're clearing out seats and they're making them
For
into
rich
these
people.
clubs or these all-you-can-eat amenities, and they're raising the prices of tickets, and they're making it more expensive for people to go to the games. And I'm just not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of the corporatizing of just games in general and making everything about, oh, well, here's an area now that used to seat 40 people, but now your company can buy a pass, a bunch of passes for a whole day, and you can come out and have a corporate event.
Do you want that free agent third baseman? I'm with you, but it's a good point. It's the way that it goes, and you wouldn't do it unless there was a demand. So us blue collars are getting pushed out because there's a demand for more high end entertainment corporate,
and we just watch it on TV with Matt.
But Shannon is right. So if anybody that went down to O'Brate Stadium to watch the regional last year when Nebraska was there, compared to the old Allie P. Reynolds, I mean that is impressive. Like college baseball, like look at all throughout the SEC. Look at the stadiums.
Look at all
the stadiums. The stadiums are better than a lot of minor league ballparks. They look like minor league ballparks, but they're college only stadiums. That's the thing about Haymarket Park, and you have the Salt Dogs and you have Nebraska, but you also have a changing of the guard. You have a different athletic director who probably has a better relationship with Charlie and Jim and the rest of the Salt Dogs people, that maybe you can start to do some things with Haymarket Park,
maybe,
and make it an entertainment. Again, the trip down to Fayetteville, what they were doing out in left field, that was great. That could work in Lincoln. That could be an entertainment area, but you have some red tape that you have to go through.
A lot of red tape.
But I in terms of that relationship, Trev moving on was best for that relationship, because that relationship between Nebraska and Haymarket Park and the Salt Dogs was one.
It's a Haymarket Park in general, though.
My voice there for the rest of the day.
It's a nice position to be in general, because it's still Haymarket Park's a nice park. Like I had a buddy who played Big Ten college baseball. He talked about how he liked playing at Haymarket Park, and like so just from
a double decker.
He didn't want to hurt your feelings.
It's old.
I like going there. I like going there. I'm not going to, it is old. I'm not going to push back or anything like that. I just like going there. I enjoy it. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of with the Salt Dogs and the Huskers and all that relationship, and the Salt Dogs have a lot of control of what happens there, and it's almost as if Nebraska has to work around them a lot.
They do. They have to be a partner.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's always an interesting relationship that year in and year out continues to evolve in terms of the different things that they're doing, whether it be concession scales and whatnot. But it's you bring up a great point. I didn't know that about Trev and that relationship, but it'll be interesting to see with Troy now at the head how they move forward with adding things to that park.
Well, you have the ideal facility over at Tal Anderson for baseball, and that's relatively new. What are we, 4 years? Going up in 5 years? And then the Creighton baseball softball complex they're moving.
It'll be really nice.
I mean, they're still going to play at the Chuck, but that'll be their primary home. And then you have Haymarket Park, which needs some upgrades.
Oh yeah. Does. No, I like it though. I like it, but I don't denying the fact that it's been around for a while, and that, I mean, every stadium needs upgrades, right?
But the only thing with Haymarket Park is it looks its age. Like it does look old. I mean, now this will be the 25th year of Haymarket Park.
Damn.
Looks good for 25. Looks good.
Coming up in the next hour, Steve Sipple will stop by. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, good night for basketball last night. Creighton won at Providence. Now they're home for a huge 2-game homestand. Marquette on Saturday, and they got UConn on Tuesday, and then they go to St. John's a week from Sunday. Nebraska won last night. If you're waking up this morning, you're like, wait a minute, they were getting beat at halftime, and they look bad. Well, they turned things around in the second half, and Bryce Williams, all Big Ten.
Isn't that the best when there were people who went to bed yesterday who thought, oh, this game's over. It's not going to go well. I'm done. I'm going to hit the hay. And they wake up in the morning and you're like, man, they won. There are people waking up right now, this very second. We're looking at their phones being like, wow, the Huskers did it. The Huskers got it
all because I went to bed.
And then there's other times when you go to bed when your favorite baseball team is up 3 runs in the 9th and you're like, all right, we got it. And then you wake up in the morning and go, oh, that's a Bryce Harper grand slam. That's going to sting.
Omaha takes on North Dakota tonight over at Baxter Arena. Mavs are tied for first with St. Thomas, who plays at South Dakota State tonight.
That's a big game.
Omaha could be in sole possession. That'll be a good game tonight.
Go to the game.
Omaha and North Dakota. Welcome back Reggie Thomas, former West Side Warrior, who was a player of the year in the GPAC out at Hastings, is now in his first year at North Dakota. So Reggie is back, and Omaha basketball is back. Bring your trash can tonight. They just won't put any popcorn in it. They got nearly, in terms of the media value off that promotion, the last check Saturday night was $5 million in free media for that promotion that was shared across. And there's a lot of Sports Business Journal has written a long story this week. Matt Brown, who's come on the show before to talk the business of sports, wrote a long expose about this promotion. So it gave Omaha everything they wanted. So bring your trash can tonight. They just won't put any popcorn in.
How was the crowd for trash can night?
It was good.
It
was good. It was their largest of the season.
Do you think
3 straight games they've had their largest crowd.
You think that might trickle over into tonight? You think them winning, having that promotion, people going to the game, do you think that'll lead to more people wanting to go tonight?
Maybe.
Better tonight than last
Hopefully
night.
More students. Sure. Boy, I saw Matt DeMarinis' picture from the Creighton women's game, and 16 threes, by the way, last night. Creighton beat Seton Hall.
Nice one.
There were no students.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
The weather wasn't the roads were a little bit tricky, but not. They just had
parking lots were more dangerous.
They had a light crowd last night at Old Sokol.
Nebraska women's basketball doesn't have a student section, and I get it to a point. Like they play sometimes in inopportune times, and it would be if they had a student section all the time, right? Maybe it wouldn't have.
It's tough to have a student section for women's sports that are not like a national championship. Like Nebraska volleyball. Yeah. Nebraska volleyball has a strong student section. But I think it might be difficult to establish a student section for women's sports.
It is for sure, but I was getting to my point. I'm not saying they should have an all-the-time student section for Nebraska women's basketball. I'm not saying that because they do play at weird times of the day, weird times in the week. You're just not going to always get the turnout you want.
Because they play tonight, right? They play Michigan?
Yes.
At PBA?
Yeah. But
go for the PA
I wouldn't
announcer.
mind. I think it would be good if 4 to 5 times a year they said, hey, guys, we're having a student section tonight for women's basketball. Or, hey, here's a night game. Nothing else is going on. Nebraska basketball isn't playing or anything like that. Like the only sporting event tonight going on in Lincoln is Nebraska women's basketball. Here's a nice promotion. Come out. Here's a student section. I'm not saying, and I agree with you, if you're not a continued champion, if you're not a power in the sport, if you're not consistently winning, it is hard to get a student section for women's sports. But I think that there are opportune times for Nebraska women's basketball who, like tonight, like Nebraska men's basketball isn't playing. There's not really any other like sports in that area going on. Tonight would be a good night. Hey, it's a Thursday night. Here's this promotion. Come in. Here's a student section.
You got to feed them?
You got to do something. You got to give them a shirt. Maybe you give them a voucher.
That kind of sucks with women's sports as popular as it's become.
$1 beer
like
and a t-shirt.
You'd have to bribe students to come to a game.
You do. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it at that point. And like people can go to, it happens. People go to a game, they go and they enjoy it and they say, hey, this is a good time. This is something that I'm going to continue to go to. It happened to baseball. I brought my friends to a Nebraska Husker baseball game. They had the time of their lives. They became regulars and did it more often than I did. You know, just people kind of fall in love with that type of stuff.
We do have some disappointing news this morning. Despite Creighton and Nebraska basketball winning last night, Omaha lost. This is now being widely reported in the boxing community. What are your favorite memories of when Canelo and Bud were going to fight?
A couple days ago?
Probably like looking at a flight to Vegas and then being like, meh, maybe not.
Doing the show. You're going to go with Jimmy Allen. It's going to be fun.
It has been canceled. So Canelo Crawford, which was going to take place on September 13th at Allegiant Stadium, has been canceled.
Hey, you can watch football that night. There's that.
It would have been, of course, the biggest fight of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Both fighters were going to move up to 168. I'm worried about Bud from this standpoint.
Uh-oh.
I'm not worried about Bud handling himself in the ring. We're running out of time.
No.
Bud's 37.
Damn.
Bud has not fought more than twice in a year since 2019. Bud has not fought for a long time. Now, Canelo is going to fight on Cinco de Mayo, but Bud doesn't have anything on the books to fight, and we're 37.
Clock's ticking.
And, I mean, he wants this fight. So I don't know what – I mean, you know, there's so many – you're a big boxing guy. There's so many people that are involved in these decisions.
Too many, man.
That this makes too much sense that everybody wants it. And now it has been canceled. And it's not just Bob with his Box Raw Twitter account. A lot of people in the industry that cover this said it has now been canceled. What, it was on 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Now it's off?
We got to get to break, and I could go on a big rant about boxing and everything like that, but this is exactly why the sport is dying. Exactly why the sport is dying. Which is the fact that they just cannot get the best boxers to fight each other, and there's way too many cooks in the kitchen, and there's a multitude of reasons, but it's just embarrassing.
Maybe it was never on, and now this is leaked out there.
It should be a slam dunk home run.
So again, maybe it was never on. It was leaked, so now it's off, and next week it'll be back on for real. Fingers crossed.
I'm hoping, man. I want it.
All right. So September 13th. Instead, you're going to have to go to the Nebraska football game.
Oh, man.
SIP's coming up in the next hour. 1620 The Zone. What does this pertain to?
Yeah.
It was on TV the other night, and it just popped in my head. Now I just picture everyone saying bye, giving a thumbs up as they show your name underneath.
I thought we were gonna get like a great like topic
story,
and like Jimmy driving the show and like being like,
no, it's literally popped in my head.
Hey, why not, man?
It's great. The Seton Hall fight song.
Yeah. Oh, that by the way, that Friar last night in Providence scares me every time.
What a great logo Providence has.
The logo's fine.
Maybe
the mascot
I'm the minority, but I love that's a cool logo. I like the Padres too. The Padres have like the old school Padres logo with the Friars. Like I like that logo where you're swinging the bat. It's a sick logo.
You know what? If you had it, and periodically, especially with Ed Cooley, they've had it rolling at Providence. When they play at home, I got to imagine that's an intimidating atmosphere. Like, but it's not just noise. Like the students always, even if Providence is struggling, like they're a 500 team, but last night they had their pink out, and their students are in it.
Yeah,
but that's also a place, in the mafia capital of the East Coast. Somebody told me a story yesterday. I'll give him credit, John. So John's a big Creighton guy, and so he was telling me a story. Jeffrey Grissel, when he was playing for Creighton, was playing in a game and hurt his back. And so he was laying along the baseline. And John was saying he was like sitting behind the Creighton bench. He said the students were like hollering at him. Like, get up, you.
Yeah.
Just like, and he said the stuff that was being said, and he, go back a few years later, and he's like, it's the same stuff. And I could see that. Like, you can't hear it.
No.
But you can tell that the students in Providence are pretty active. And I bet I'd like to ask the Creighton guys, like some of the wildest stuff they hear.
Sure.
Because that appears to be a place where they don't care. They have no filter. They'll say whatever. But you can see that it influences calls in that building. That building gets nasty. Like Providence can get there and they can play that in-your-face style. Like, look how that game began last night. They wanted to put Ashworth out of business.
They wanted to put Kalkbrenner out of business.
Like they were, yeah, you're right. They were physical. They were like pushing. And if you can do that for 40 minutes against Creighton, you can get away with it because that's the MO, because you disrupt the offense if you really get physical with Ashworth. But there are very few teams right now in the Big East that can do it for a full 40 minutes. But that place, I'd like to hear some of the language. I'm wondering if that's Bishop. Like, could he overhear stuff that was being said last night?
What did he say back to them?
The most dangerous thing,
I'd be saying stuff at Donnie Marshall.
One of the most dangerous plays in all of basketball.
Can we talk about Donnie Marshall?
What about Donnie Marshall?
Wow.
Sims was okay, but then again, I'm ready for baseball. So,
new radio voice of the New York Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he said it. He basically said it's okay to have a shot clock violation out of a timeout.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't want one?
I'm like, I spent a lot of time on Chris Crutchfield. He preaches that.
That's like Reggie. What Reggie Miller say last year about, they actually want a foul or something like that?
What's more embarrassing, having a shot clock violation out of a timeout or having a delay of game in football out of a timeout?
Damn.
I think out of football.
Yeah, I would go delay a game. Like, you kidding me? You guys huddled up for a whole minute and you couldn't even get the ball off.
Basketball would be a 5-second violation. That would be bad.
Ooh, so that in itself is a debate. What's more basic, a 5-second violation out of a timeout or a shot clock violation out of a timeout? Because you got to realize, like, you take that timeout in basketball to stop the run, but you also want to draw up a play so you can get a nice quick bucket. At least that's the idea. Like, all right, we're going to take our time. We're going to get a cultivated play here that'll get us to the rim. If you get a shot clock violation, do you know how, like, the momentum just completely just comes all the way back if you do that?
Adam says Providence is the most hostile environment to play in the Big East, not a close second.
That ceiling is low, too, so that noise just kind of hangs over you.
That's another thing, too. Like, they're a 500 team that isn't that great, and yet it's still a hard place to win basketball games.
Reminds me of Gallagher in a small way.
And Chris Dunn, those Chris Dunn teams, man.
They've had some dudes.
Yeah.
And they're in the Big East is in a very interesting spot because there could be a distinct separation between the top and then you have poverty. Seton Hall is in trouble.
They looked terrible yesterday.
But it's not only, I mean, they got blown out by Butler.
They got curb stomped, and it wasn't like one of those, like Cuse versus Duke yesterday was kind of competitive, and then Duke pulled away. No, from the get-go, Butler was killing them.
I think if I'm the Big East, I got to have some speaks with the people at Seton Hall about what they want to do with men's basketball, because you're in a conference where the top is getting better and they're spending money.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom, DePaul got beat by Villanova last night. DePaul's got a bunch of injuries now.
Yeah.
So Holtman's going to hang on for the rest of the year and then let's regroup in the offseason. But if I'm the administration at Seton Hall, you don't have the NIL to compete. You thought you made this incredible hire off a run in the NCAA tournament. You got a guy that's one of your own. Okay, he understands Jersey. You have a little bit of momentum. Seton Hall is in trouble. Like, not just on the floor, but their basketball program. If I'm the Big East, if I'm Val Ackerman, who ironically, they started a campaign to promote being nice to officials, and Kalkbrenner gets a technical last night.
By the way, that technical was soft as blank and also so warranted. Kalkbrenner was getting murdered he was in midair and he's getting elbows.
And you would think, so he doesn't complain a lot. So when he does, you would give him a little bit of rope.
Oh,
and you'd be like, okay, I'll listen, but I'm not going to bang him. And it's the official coming up the floor, because he started complaining when he went up for the lob and he got pushed and it went in. So he's running down the floor. But that official, that's got some rabbit ears. But for a guy that should get some calls but doesn't complain after everything, you would let him go a little bit, instead of banging him from that far away. But back to Seton Hall, like the Big East has to have some speaks with Seton Hall, and they have to decide what they want to do, because they are going to get lost in the Big East when it comes to finances and support. Because look, they play at the Rock, and it's an NBA arena. When they're good, people show up. When they're not, they don't, and they should be playing at their arena on campus. But it's easy, I guess, if you're a Seton Hall fan living in the New York City area, to find other things to do, that you just give up on the program. But they might be in a spot where I don't know financially if they can compete to be successful in the Big East. They're in trouble. And it's a conversation with their administration that needs to happen, is what is their commitment to men's basketball? Because they are getting past.
That's sad.
And look at the top. UConn, Marquette, Creighton, and now add St. John's. They're not going anywhere. And it's not like they're taking money out of the coffer and like, you know what? You don't need this in your budget this year. They're like, we need more money in our budget.
Yeah.
And Seton Hall is like, we're players are being bought off our roster by people in our league.
Well, isn't that kind of what's so impressive about what Ben Johnson's doing in Minnesota right now? The fact that they are counting, I mean, we talked to Jacob Bigelow about it. They are counting down the Daves to rev share. So they actually have money to pay people in their basketball program. Yet they're still out there and they're competing and they're within the Big Ten. Now, they're not doing great or anything like that, but they're still winning games. To Seton Hall, it's almost as if NIL and rev share and all this money coming in has created this extra border of entry to be a competitive basketball team. Now, let's not act as if there wasn't money involved in college basketball in the past when it came to certain recruits and all that stuff. But still, it used to be, if you want to be competitive basketball, you got to hire a good coach, right? Then you got to get that coach to convince players and convince families, hey, give me your son, and then let's go and win. And then you win and you build the program tradition, and then it gets easier and easier to get players, which makes it easier and easier to win. That is kind of your upward linear trajectory. Now that the NIL is coming and now that rev share is coming, it's almost as if there's this extra wall of like, okay, even before you even get to the players, before you even get to the families, before you even get to the winning or the tradition, you have to pony up. And if you have schools and athletic departments that aren't willing to pass that border of entry, well, then you're going to have some really difficult decisions about the seriousness of your basketball program.
I mean, and look at, I was watching a little bit of a recruiting show yesterday. Maryland is recruiting again fairly well.
Yeah.
But is Maryland, Rutgers, and Purdue going to be able to compete in the Big Ten when it comes to football?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I thought we were in basketball.
No, we are, but I'm shifting to football.
Go ahead.
Because I'm looking at schools that have to make a decision on where they want to go. Like, are they, like Purdue football could say, we're all in, but what does that mean? Like,
it's a great question.
All in to do
what?
Like, you just pray that you got your Cignetti. You're just, oh my God, I hope we have the right guy that in one time can turn it around. Because look at Indiana is probably, what would you say? They're going to get at least a 2-year bump from Cignetti's first year.
Yes.
And then if things aren't back to that level where you maybe go back to the playoff, then you're like, okay.
Well, I
think we had our window. But the Rutgers and the Marylands and the Purdues in the Big Ten Conference for football, how do they get out of the bottom? How does Washington basketball get out of the bottom?
I think it's just praying, Gary. Because we're at the point too where football brings in so much money, and just no school is ever going to be like, well, we'll take some out of football and we'll put more into basketball, because the dollars just don't equate, right?
Yeah.
You just cannot make up for money you lose in football by money you gain in basketball. It just does not work like that. And so I honestly, truthfully, unless Purdue gets this billionaire donor or something, that's what it is. That's what this all boils down to. Do you have massive donors who are willing to pony up and be that extra mile and be that angel and get these extra players? Or do you just hope you get a generational coach that maybe you can do more with less? But then also there's setting standards. Purdue has to realize that the peak of what they're going to do with where they're currently at in college football, the peak of the next decade for them is just making the college football playoff, sneaking into a 10, 11, 12. They're just not a program at this point that can realistically say we're going to go and win a national championship, which I think says a lot about that program, considering the fact that this college football playoff has opened up avenues for more teams to win college football national championships. We just got back from a game, for a national championship game, where a team was the 7th seed in the CFP and they won the national championship. So it just says a lot about that. I don't know. I think literally it's praying, man. It's praying, and you're hoping that someone gets rich and they want Purdue football to be great. That's what it is. You get your Phil Knight. That is a saying now. You get your Phil Knight. Because what Phil Knight has done for that Oregon program is astounding, because all he wants to see is the Ducks win a national championship. And that's what teams got to hope for if they're not already positioned financially and tradition-wise could go and compete.
All right. Steve Sipple is going to join us before the hour is over. Plus, we will talk about the Super Bowl in the 9 o'clock hour. Wall-to-wall Josh Klingler, James Palmer, Brian Edwards.
Heck yeah, man.
When we come back, we were talking about the lack of the Super Six.
Ooh.
I want to add a name that people forget about, that because our discussion yesterday elicited people that were throwing their Super Six at me. There's a name that's missing, and I wonder why.
Okay.
We'll discuss when we come back. Again, Sip joins us in about 20 minutes. Plus, also when we come back, your chance to win $100 if you know what the play is.
Finish the play.
65 power trap. Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey.
Hey.
Whose hey is better?
Yours. You're a better singer.
Hey.
Stop. We know this. I'm bad at singing, but I like to do it.
But you're the karaoke guy.
I'm not good.
Fallon.
Listen to me. Here's what's on my wall. I'm not good, but I'm a good time. Okay?
That do anything for you, Jimmy?
I mean, that can go a lot of different directions.
He dropped that line on you with that.
That's when you weigh your options, and you're like, yeah, he'll do.
You know what?
Let's get some pizza after.
That definitely has gone through people's heads. I guess
wins are wins.
That'll work.
Don't apologize for winning. If your team wins 9-6 Sunday, guess what? They win another championship.
Yes.
Oh, I have a great question for you that you're gonna get pissed at me about. No, I think you'll get upset.
Trading Mahomes for Durant.
I'll ask you anyway. Let's say there's a tush push on the 1 yard line.
We've already discussed this.
No.
They should kill football.
And then
just play flag
there's
football.
A false start
ready
penalty.
for the Olympics.
There's a false start penalty called
on
the Eagles.
I'm just turning off
moves
Twitter
them back 5 yards. But then you look at the tape and it's kind of a phantom call. You know, the flag wasn't really needed there for the false start, and then it backs it up 5 yards. They end up at the 6 yard line. They don't get it in. They don't score a touchdown.
Then we're gonna do this again on Monday.
Would you be a little annoyed that there was a phantom false start call, or were you just like, no, I'm a Super Bowl
Who gets the championship if that happens?
It's not a real play. It's a rugby play.
Okay.
They get what they deserve.
There you go.
Screw you, Cam Jurgens.
Randall Cunningham didn't need it.
But I hope we play golf together this summer.
There you go. I hope Cam, if you and Cam play golf in the summer, he's like, hey, Gary, you like that? You like my new, I can't wear my glove anymore because my ring is so big.
Did he just give away his pick?
I already gave away my pick.
I missed it. Who'd you pick?
I picked the Eagles.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll save it till tomorrow.
We'll save it till tomorrow.
Good luck. By the way, softball season begins today. Nebraska softball is playing on MLB Network on Saturday against Texas Tech. Good luck to Mike Hurd and Omaha softball making another run. They're the favorites in the Summit League.
Huh? Good luck to them.
And Creighton softball has made huge strides. Could this be the year that all three make the NCAA tournament? 2 of the 3 will. Nebraska and Omaha. Speaking of Nebraska, Ed Foley has a new job.
Oh, I did not see that. Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
He's coming to work here.
Actually, you know what? He's a really good storyteller.
He is.
I wonder if he'd like a nooner. Like I couldn't get Carl to have a nooner. I wonder if Ed would like a nooner.
I think Ed would like a nooner.
12 to 1?
Yeah.
Like Happer does 2 hours, takes a timeout, like goes get a drink, get some lunch, come back.
Takes over.
Ed takes over.
Ed and Josh.
We call it call to the pen.
Yeah.
Call to the pen with Ed Foley.
A lot of Philly talk.
Yeah. Ton of Philly talk. Ed is a very entertaining human. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it's some sort of head of high school relations.
You have part of
ambassador
of his new title.
Yeah, head of high school football recruiting relations.
Okay, you have 2 of the words in there.
High school
of
nope.
Head of
nope.
Relations.
The voice was getting better until then.
You're halfway to Vin Scully.
He is the listed.
I love it when my stupidity makes people combust.
He is listed in the directory now as, excuse me, director of football relations.
Oh,
that's a good. Yeah.
I have a question here.
Okay.
You were rattling off your Super 6 yesterday. A lot of people were rattling off their Super 6. How come nobody brings up TJ Lateef? He is a quarterback in this class that is going to be good. But these Super 6s that got thrown my way, I never saw the quarterback.
That's a great one. Because he is one of the higher recruited, like higher rated guys on the. You know what? I think we all know the answer, though. The answer is that Dylan Raiola is the starting quarterback for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola
going out on a limb
for a, hopefully and more than likely at this point is going to be the starting quarterback for Nebraska football for the next 2 seasons as a sophomore and a junior, barring anything, transfer portal or whatnot. But like all that to say, Dylan Raiola is the future. So I think people look at Latif, who plays that position, and they undermine him and they overlook him because they know that he's not a guy that's going to play right away, or at least start right away, or have an opportunity to start right away. And I think there also might be some thoughts in people's heads when they look at Latif, a four-star guy from California who is a really good quarterback prospect, that's a guy who maybe will transfer because he's not getting the opportunity that maybe he wanted because Raiola is still in the seat. What happens,
But don't you think he would have decommitted before he signed?
That's a good point. But you never know until you actually get in the building and you're actually in the meetings and you're actually there and things happen, right? You can convince yourself.
But he knew that. He knew what
Sure,
he signed up for. I'm glad he signed up for it.
Me too.
Do not forget about
Me
TJ
too.
Latif.
I totally agree.
That's TJ Latif and Marcus Davila are 2 really good things in year 2 for Dylan Raiola.
I agree.
Because there's real competition. It'll make Dylan better.
And those are real
options.
athletes. Those are athletes. Davila and Latif are legitimate athletic dudes.
May not happen for a couple of years. Do not forget about TJ Latif.
I think it's a great shout.
So if you want to redo your Super 6 and include TJ Latif to, suck up to me, I won't. I will accept them. I will not block your emails or send them back to you and say, correction.
You won't pull a Rothstein, block the tweets.
I'm only blocked by one significant person I noticed the other day. And it is a rather significant person in Nebraska.
Really?
Yep.
Jim Pillen. Damn.
No, I have a good relationship with the Gov. But I'm
And
gonna
the Gov.
You're gonna double check.
Both governors.
Gotta make sure we're on good standings with the Gov.
Oh no,
we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. I don't
out,
think
Governor.
I'm blocked by anybody. At least no one that I care about to this point that I would think I'm blocked by. So, but I haven't really made enough of an impact in my life to really get blocked by anybody.
That's good, though.
We tried one day to get blocked by Ben Roethlisberger.
You tried one day?
Well, because he had somebody that used to run his social media.
Okay.
And they were blocking about 1,000 people a day.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of effort.
More blocks than Elijah wants.
Have you ever?
There's a lot of idiots out there.
Have you ever? How many people do you think you've blocked?
I haven't.
I haven't.
He mutes.
I have one account that is blocked, and I don't think that person exists anymore. I'm a muter.
right here.
I'm a muter, but you know what? I do a good job of ignoring people.
I had a very good friend of mine who I didn't know I muted on Twitter, but they were muted on Twitter because I guess they were tweeting a lot one day, and I decided to mute them. And then I just never unmuted them. And then we were like, oh, we were together. And I looked through my Twitter and I went to their page and it said they were muted. And they found out right then and there.
Damn, he unblocked us.
Dang.
So
you're mad that he unblocked you?
Yeah.
You wanted it to be like a cold statement. Like, look at me. Like, look how important I am. This guy can't stand me.
Like we were trying to come up with stuff to tweet at him. Not like, like derogatory or anything like that, but about his play.
Neil O'Donnell was better.
Yeah. So he didn't know that he had all these people blocked until like friends of his were like, "Hey, I thought we were buddies. You blocked me on X," and he's like, "Oh, I don't run my account." He goes, "I do post, but I have somebody else that helps me with it."
Oh, so the other person was blocking.
This person was anything negative, like football wise or anything else. She was just going down the list blocking, and they estimated that she was blocking 1,000 people a day.
Wow, that's a job. People get paid to do that.
Oh yeah, people get paid to run the social media.
You get paid to
pays well.
People. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, social media is important. Marketing is important. Getting your name out there is important.
I can tell you for a fact that everybody here, everybody in the state that is a coach, runs their own social media.
It's good to know.
Like listener Matt.
Remember when we got all excited when Tim Miles used to tweet at halftime? You missed those? Like, would you like Hoiberg to tweet more? Like, would you have last night would have been a prime example to have a, hey, Seamus, this is what we need to tweet at halftime.
Can you imagine? He's like walking in the locker room and he tweets out from his account, about to fire up the boys here. Let's see if it works out. #GBR. Walking out of the locker room. I think they got the message, guys. Let's see how we respond in the second half.
Sean Kemp and Gary Payton not walking through that door.
Let me, no, he doesn't. Miles doesn't tweet at halftime anymore.
For San Jose?
Yeah.
That sucks.
They're actually playing a little bit better. They won the other night against Fresno State. I think they're on a nice little stretch. Time for Tim to get out of San Jose. But he doesn't tweet at halftime anymore. But that was like the thing. That was what Tim Miles was known for. Was tweeting at halftime. He would tell Seamus what to do, and then boom.
Isn't it funny that like when Matt Rule tweets, it's like Christmas Day, like it's a little surprise, like you don't know what's coming. It's like oh my God.
One thing about his tweets, this is kind of this. They're very calculated.
Oh my God!
Like Matt Rule runs his own Twitter account, but there's a lot of people that are involved in the content that is created so that he can tweet it out.
I'm not going to call them.
He's got a team.
I was going to call him something else. I think that's a little bit ruder, to say, so I won't say it. But he makes calls to the pen. Let's just say that. He goes, hey, and his tweets, like when I tweet, I'm just sitting down and I'm like, oh, that's a good thought. And it doesn't really I don't dwell on it. I just get on the phone and I go, oh, okay. And I tweet it out, right? Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's funny. You can tell with his tweets. It's like a meeting almost. It is a melding of minds. It is a sit down and let's think about this. How are we going to hit Feinbaum? How are we going to get at Feinbaum today? Hey, how are we going to fire up the folks at Nebraska with God Made a Farmer poem? Hey, how are we going to tease the fact that we might get a really big prospect that people don't think that we're going to get? It's interesting. I like him. I like him a lot. I like the tweets.
So the Feinbaum tweet was a project.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were like 2 or 3 people that were involved in putting together the video and the idea behind it.
Yeah. It's a meeting, man. He even admitted at a press conference that he found that poem and he sent the poem and he goes, here you go, figure it out. Tweet that out for me. And they put it together and they made one hell of a production. And it was a great tweet. It's a team, man. I like that, by the way. I like the attention to detail. I like that everything that Matt Rule does is taken with such seriousness to almost the nth degree. Okay. It goes from literally coaching football to putting on your socks in the morning. It's something.
Better be something beginning August 30th.
No kidding.
All right.
No
Sip
kidding.
is going to join us here in a little bit. But this is the opportunity to win $100. You've been following along we've been doing this for a little bit. Jimmy says, Jimmy Allen, after hours, our Jimmy Allen. What happened to his emoji game?
That's a great point, Jimmy.
I think the people around him have changed. So the person that helps him is not an emoji guy. He's a video guy.
He's a video guy.
He's not an emoji guy.
We had a CIP, a change in personnel.
We did. Not because that person got fired, but that person kind of ran out of eligibility to work in a football office.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a very good point. I know what you're talking about. The funny thing is how umpires nowadays, on the internet, you can go to an umpire page and it tells you your tendencies. Mm-hmm. Hey, his strike zone's a little bit wider, but it's a little bit shorter. The strike zone. I wonder if they have that with social media guys. Hey, this is his tendency. He's a little bit less on the emojis, but more on the higher words. Hey, this guy's a GIF guy. If you really want a good GIF, you want to hire this social media dude. Every social media manager has their touch. You got other social media managers who are just trolls. They're just S posters. They just go around and they mess with people. It's so funny.
Today's play, which Jimmy will play. How do you want to grab the winner? Would you like email?
Go ahead and email me because we got to call Sip during the break, and plus it's just easier for me to get your information when you email me. And how it works is the first one that emails Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. That's JMMY. We'll get you taken care of and set up. Now, we get several emailers, so you have to be completely correct on the deal. You can't just kind of wing it and get half of it back because I got to find some way to cancel people out. So listen, the best part of this, honestly, like you were saying yesterday, is the announcers getting to hear some of them again. This one will be remembered by, well, I mean, if you listen to this station and a show on any show on the station, you'll know this play, especially in our area.
11th play of this drive that started back at the Bronco 8. 3rd and 6, Elway shotgun. Almost offside, but the Packers got back on. Elway scrambling.
All right, tell us how it ends.
Yes. Have we had one play from the 2000s in the 8 days we've been doing this?
Actually, I thought about that the other day, and I was planning on that today, but here's the thing.
Jimmy's like 75 years old. What do you
I really thought about the Devin Hester kickoff return, but I didn't want to do that to you.
Mahomes,
me do that to me. That's one of the happiest moments of my life.
He hasn't caught up to this guy named Mahomes yet.
Yeah.
How are we still?
I'm still on Trent
how
Green.
Are we still in the 20th century here? We're 8 days into this.
It's Nebraska.
There should
it's
be
still the
progression.
90s.
There should be an obvious progression into like modern day Super Bowls.
We
have
modern.
1 day left, and we haven't left the 90s.
Yeah. That's true. We will have one that's a little more recent tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll have Ravens
so.
Giants.
I hope so. You're going to have 2003 in there. That's so recent. 22 years ago. So recent. I mean,
Derek
still
Brooks
in the 90s.
running it back for a touchdown,
we
and the
doing,
Bucks are winning
Jimmy?
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but like the winning play last year is so obvious.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even like, we'll do more recent. 2005, guys. That was 20 years ago.
To troll, we should do where they called the holding penalty in the last Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. That'll get people all
Go
triggered
ahead, look
for
at your
tomorrow.
email. I bet you already have a winner.
I bet I do.
Jimmy at 1620thezone.com.
Yes.
Steve Sipple joins 1620 next. All right, no Sip here. He's working. And I'm not pulling your leg or he's working.
No, he really is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a working man.
Yeah, he's working.
I should have played that.
You should have played Dolly Parton.
9 to 5?
Yeah.
He is actually working till 9. He when you were calling him, he immediately texted me. So Sip's working. So Sip will not be on the show.
But hey, he texted us, so all right. Good morning, Sip.
That's okay. We will adjust. We'll be Sipless this week.
You want to be Cody Rhodes? So what do you want to talk about?
All right. Let's see here.
When I was 8 years old.
Back to Eli Manning. Do you think you'll get the call tonight?
Do you really think Coke will come back?
Do you know?
Is Coke back? Is Coke back? Is Coke back? Is Coke back in?
Not really.
Yeah.
If you like look at some of the transgressions, there's not a lot of Coke issues. There's other things that are going on.
Sure.
Do you guys realize something? So I've kind of tongue in cheek said this. Eli's getting into the Hall of Fame. He'll get the call tonight. Do you know he has never received any MVP votes in his career?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Not one?
Mm-mm.
So if he won only one Super Bowl, is he in the Hall of Fame?
Which one did he win? I'm not being sarcastic.
Oh, great question, Jimmy.
Yeah, if he beats the Patriots team, probably carries more stock. But he's got his 2 Super Bowls are over Brady. So there's the Brady effect. So here we go.
Oh, I see what
if you beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl, does that guarantee a Jalen Hurts trip to Canton?
See, but that's one of those things where that improves over time, right? Because Brady continued to win Super Bowls after Eli beat him twice. I think that if Eli had just won one, it would be one of those things where it's like, that's the only argument you had. You could only say, well, he beat Brady. He beat the undefeated Patriots. He beat Brady. And then you could go down the laundry list of everything else as to maybe why or why not he shouldn't be in. But then you could keep saying that. I feel like 2 puts it in the coffin, right? It just puts the nail. No. He beat him twice. I'll say this. Joe Burrow's legacy right now, still to this day, is affected positively because he's the only one who's nipped Patrick Mahomes and is still active in the NFL. I mean, we think highly of Joe Burrow, higher than other quarterbacks because he was able to knock off Pat Mahomes. And that type of, absolutely, with Jalen Hurts. Now, we could get to the point where when we talk about Jalen Hurts' legacy as a quarterback, and let's say he loses the Super Bowl on Sunday, we say, well, who did he lose to? Right? And it's almost as if it's a benefit for him in an argument that he's losing to Pat Mahomes because Pat Mahomes is going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time.
But if he goes 0 for 2 and never makes it back, Jalen Hurts is just a footnote.
Just another quarterback.
Well, it depends on what he does for the rest of his career. Like if he puts up like MVP type numbers and like is a 4,000-yard passer and is a high touchdown, low interception guy and puts the stats together, you can't deny that he's done enough winning.
He'd have to win an MVP or he'd have to win a couple MVPs.
He'd have to
make up for 0-2 in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Were we just talking about making the Hall of Fame, or are we talking about legacy within quarterbacks?
Making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think if he just wins, if he plays great football the rest of his career and ends up being in the MVP conversation and wins an MVP, I think so. Yeah, I think he's. He'd have
to add an MVP at least.
I agree with that, but I don't think it's a multiple MVP thing. I think if Jalen Hurts has done enough winning in his career now, where if he just has great season after great season, like I said, 4,000-yard passer, close to it, high touchdowns, low interceptions, is consistently in the conversation for MVPs or consistently in the conversation of top 10, top 6, top 7 quarterbacks. I think that's enough at this point for him to be in the Hall of Fame. I do. He's done enough winning. How many guys not a lot of people make multiple Super Bowls. I mean, Josh Allen is a guy that we consider to be much. Now, granted, he's going against Patrick Mahomes every year. And then you can get into this, kind of Groundhog Day argument of like, who is Jalen Hurts playing and whatnot. But he's done enough already in terms of winning and making it to the Super Bowls, where I think as long as he gets those personal stats, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
If he could do it again without Barkley.
But he already did it without Barkley.
But now they're in the Super Bowl because of Barkley. I get it that it helped the Eagles, but I'm looking at the mindset of how you look at a Jalen Hurts career.
He's already done without Barkley. I don't think that hammers his legacy.
But he was not very good that year.
What, for Barkley? Or without Barkley?
Without Barkley.
Well, he went through injuries last year, and they went 10-0, and then he got a knee injury, and it clearly bothered him, but they were at a position where they were playing in their division, and they were still competing against the Dallas Cowboys, where he could not take weeks off in order to recover and properly come back. And so I think the end of the season was definitely harmed by the injuries that he was going through. There's no pushing back on the fact that this team is much better and would not be in the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. But you cannot sit here as well and say, well, they can't be in the Super Bowl without Jalen Hurts, because they wouldn't be in the Super Bowl without Jalen Hurts if he wasn't a top quarterback. Because Saquon Barkley, let's make it very clear, was playing with a really bad quarterback or bad quarterbacks for almost his entire career. I don't think it's a coincidence that Saquon Barkley finally gets a winner as the guy who's handing him the ball, finally gets a guy who's proven not only just in the NFL, but in college as well, that he can go out and win games and play at a high level. We can't act.
Offensive line
adds too.
This is the best offensive line. Well, I mean, Jimmy could run behind this offensive line.
Which is saying something.
They're one of the better offensive lines that we've seen in a while in football. That helps him a ton.
Barkley?
That helps him. That helps
everybody.
Barkley immensely.
And
also the fact that I don't think that the Eagles will pull a James Cook and forget about him.
But when you played Saquon Barkley, when he was on the Giants, who else were you lining up against in terms of threats on the field?
Daniel Jones.
No, absolutely not. And then also to what? Kadarius Toney? You had to worry about Kadarius Toney? Nope.
I worried about Kadarius Toney hurting my team.
You had to worry about Evan Ingram, and we all know who Evan Ingram is, because Evan Ingram is a good tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a reason why the Giants let him go to Jacksonville. Evan Ingram was not a good tight end, plain and simple. I mean, there were no other weapons on that Giants team, and no matter how much they tried to help out Saquon, it was very clear who was going to consistently get the ball. So yeah, Jalen Hurts lining right up next to Saquon Barkley. We can't act as if the other defense isn't looking at the weapons that the Eagles have and looking at Jalen Hurts, and they know his ability to throw the ball, and they know his ability to get down the field regardless of who's standing right next to him.
I think Jalen's gonna, if he goes 0 for 2 in the Super Bowl and never makes it back, he's gonna need to add more to his resume. Because he hasn't.
I think adding more to the resume,
he'd have to be at the top of his sport as one of the best quarterbacks.
Adding more to the resume, though, I don't think has to do with win. I think he's done enough winning. The resume is just getting the consistent stats to be widely considered almost every single year a top 6 to 7 quarterback. That's what he's got to do. But I don't know how many more
Justin
Super
Herbert
Bowls.
A Hall of Famer?
No, absolutely not. But he hasn't done the winning. You have to do both. You have to do the stats and you have to do the winning. Did Eli did barely enough stats, but did so much winning where it's almost you're at a bar and you're trying to get over that bar, and his winning has put him over that bar. Jalen Hurts is at the point where his winning has helped him a lot get to that bar. He needs the consistent play now. But I don't think multiple MVPs. If he wins one MVP, I think it's done. We're talking about a guy who's been to 2 Super Bowls. Who's won, he doesn't know anything other than winning. The minute he came into Philly, he had to do that BS switching in and out with Carson Wentz. Look, I'm not saying that he's close to the Hall of Fame right now. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got a long way to go. Okay, he hasn't had a 4,000-yard season yet. He's had seasons where he's double digits in interceptions. He's had those years. But even if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, if he elevates himself to the point where he's in the top 6 or top 7 for the next 7 to 8 years, I think he's a Hall of Famer. But that's really hard to do. And I'm asking him to do something he hasn't done before.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he's going to need.
I agree.
He's going to need to go to an awards ceremony. But I also think that he's got a good chance to win on Sunday. One quick thing here, because I saw this yesterday. Severe brought this up on Twitter. And I was following the thread because he was talking about Fedoni at the Senior Bowl and
Yeah.
the praise they
I
got.
saw that this morning.
And he goes, I'm trying to remember a former Husker player that more fans seem to be cheering against than Fidone. It's like they will be irate if he gets drafted. And I'm glad he brought this up because this surprised me when I moved back to Nebraska and moved to Omaha specifically, that people here were offended by Eric Crouch. Like Eric
Heisman
Crouch.
Trophy winner.
Well, so I was taken back because I've always been a big fan of EC and I've known him for a long time.
You're right there.
And people were not all, hey, I'm pro Eric. And I was confused. I was like, the guy won the Heisman Trophy. He's from Millard North. You still upset because of 1998 and him leaving Nebraska and coming back home and then going back to Nebraska? Because I honestly wanted to know. I was like, why do people in Omaha, they don't like Crouch? I mean, good dude. I mean, great dude, by the way. This was the response. Well, he let down Omaha with the NFL. Let down Omaha. He went to the Rams and then just, didn't want to play wide receiver. Let down Omaha. Embarrassed Omaha. I'm like, really? Guy won the Heisman Trophy. He's from here.
Tough as nails.
Okay. And by the way, 15 years later, he's pretty much ingrained in the community. Okay. But Severe's right. Like as Fidone will get more of an evaluation from the NFL, the reaction of people if Fidone's career ages well at Nebraska.
Ooh. I legitimately think that there will be if he has a really good NFL career, there will be people who will not like that because they will say, well, why couldn't he do that in a Husker uniform? Or where was that when he was in Lincoln? Or why?
But do we do that with the same guys that go undrafted and maybe don't play well on the offensive line, but all of a sudden in the NFL are multi-year starters?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with how.
Let's do with his personality. People don't like Fidone. Okay, they wanted more. They thought he was going to be this incredible player.
So that's what
he got hurt. He's one of the rare guys that has pushed back against the fan base.
Because
instead of going, you know what? Nebraska needs as many guys to get drafted because right now they got a suitcase full of cash to spend, but people don't want to come here and take Nebraska's cash. You know what? They might come here and take your cash and play here if you're putting guys in the NFL. So I don't care if the guy is a knob and if he hates you and he's got an aunt that loves social media and doesn't like Nebraska. Nebraska needs Thomas Fidone to get drafted and do well in the NFL. Okay?
I'll tell you something right now.
They need Tommy Hill. They need Tommy Hill to get his friggin' act straight.
Yeah.
And so somebody takes a chance on him and he plays in the NFL so they can sell that story.
Absolutely.
They need Ty Robinson to get drafted outside of the third day and to go and do work.
I remember where I was when Thomas Fidone committed to Nebraska. Okay, it was a big deal on campus when he committed to Nebraska. When the number one tight end of the country, this incredibly highly touted recruit, committed to Nebraska. Oh my God, this guy's going to be the safety valve. He's going to be the pass catcher. He's going to be a superstar for us. That was the reaction. And he did not live up to that. Now, he tore his ACLs. Okay, that's hard. I mean, that's terrible. And he's still able to play at a level that is getting himself to be considered to be drafted in the NFL. That story alone is quite incredible. But because he had so much hype and because there was so much hope and he didn't live up to it, which it was a really, really high bar to clear, you have this negative reaction towards him. And whether or not you think that's fair, I mean, I don't.
Adam's right. There's two guys that have challenged the fan base
that's true.
Both actually live here in the Omaha area. Corey McKeon challenged the Nebraska fan base. People push back. And he can do, and Corey's lived here in Omaha for a while. He'll never be able to get that back for the majority of the fan base.
I really do think that when Fidone scored that touchdown against Northern Illinois and he shushed the Memorial Stadium crowd, there were some people who really took that to heart.
Oh,
there were some people who that really bothered them. It ticked them off big time.
If you were working at this radio station, you would have understood.
Oh no, I know the backstory. I know who was shushing. I know who he was shushing.
Nebraska needs Thomas Fidone to get drafted, even if it is Mr. Irrelevant.
They need all of these guys to get drafted. So you can go and say, hey, look, we had 6 draft picks this year.
Because what is Matt Rule been preaching to people? NFL development, getting your guys in the NFL. Well, you got to get them drafted first.
We will talk some Super Bowl. Josh Klingler from the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network joins us next. All right, the Super Bowl is Sunday in New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Kansas City. And a great opportunity to welcome in one of the good guys in this business. Used to be one of us that got up bright and early in the morning, had to put up with Bob Fesco in Kansas City. He is a familiar voice on the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network. Josh Klingler joins us. Josh, good morning.
Yes, this is early for me now. I love it. You guys can understand.
Yeah. How long did you do mornings with Bob?
I think we were together about 15 years, and I was in mornings, I think another 3 or so before that. So it was almost 20 years in mornings. So, yeah.
Do you find yourself just getting up at 4:30 in the morning, just like you can't help it? Like your clock is just messed up forever?
I have no problem now sleeping in. No.
Nice.
Hey, I think every angle of why the Chiefs are back for the third straight year has been discussed, but you're pretty intimate. So you're in it. You know these guys. You see their day to day. how do these guys avoid complacency? I mean, they're going for 3. When you win 1, we know you want 2, but my gosh, there aren't people that go and win 3. How does this organization, from the top with the Hunts all the way down to the person that runs the front door at the practice facility, how do they avoid complacency?
Yeah, I mean, it has been kind of amazing. I don't know if this year it was kind of about almost like addressing it early. I mean, they were discussing it post game of last year's Super Bowl. And then as we found out, they were kind of discussing it before the Super Bowl with, kind of behind the scenes. I know Jim Nantz had shared a story with us on the network about, sitting down with Travis Kelce before last year's Super Bowl. And he's like, oh, no, wait, next year we're going to win it again and we're going to go undefeated. Well, they didn't go undefeated, but they got a chance to win it again. And then after the game at the podium, and then it kind of filtered down. It started with Mahomes and then filtered down to everybody else like, yeah, we're going for 3. We're going for history. And I thought, wow, they're kind of addressing this a little bit early.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think it took the pressure off, because I think a lot of times it could be week 10 or week 11 and you're in position again, and suddenly people going, oh, this team could be going for a 3-peat. And I don't think there was any of that pressure really all season long. I mean, it got talked about a tad bit, but I think they took the heat off themselves in a way. And then you just have it's hard to explain. You just have a couple really laser focused guys. I mean, Mahomes is everything you would want in your quarterback. Great dude, super skilled, savvy in public, savvy with business, but also like super focused on history and legacy. Mm-hmm. And this is a legacy thing for him. I think he is probably thinking, I don't know if I'll ever catch Brady, but I can do something Brady hasn't done. I think that does definitely enter his mind. And then the rest of them picked it up too. I mean, Kelce and Jones, specifically Chris Jones, they've specifically talked about legacy. They want to be remembered, not just as Chiefs, but in the NFL. And what better way to do it than to do something no one else has done before? And I think that's been kind of setting the tone. And then, I've been around teams in other sports really where the best player was the best player, but not necessarily the best leader. They are the most skilled. You have that kind of the most skilled person necessarily isn't the one everybody gravitates to.
Sure.
Might be the best player. This isn't the case with the Chiefs. I mean, the best players are the best leaders, and Mahomes and Kelce and Jones set the tone for everybody. They have a lot of good players. I'm not saying that, but when you got your 3 studs that are follow us, here's what we're doing, and then you have Andy Reid at the top of it, it's a pretty great recipe.
Hey, Josh, Matt here. Want to really appreciate you coming on. It's funny that you mentioned that with, I may not be able to catch Brady, but I can do something he hasn't done before. It reminds me of Michael Jordan. Like back in the 90s, he was like, I may not be able to catch Russell in terms of doing this, but I can do something that Larry and Magic didn't do, and that's win 3 in a row. I want to talk about Mahomes with you for a second. You've been covering this team, been around this team so much. Was there a moment or a game or an instance where you watch Patrick Mahomes and you're like, okay, Kansas City's got something here. This is it. Kansas City, this can turn into a dynasty. This can turn into long-term winning. Was there a specific time where you're like, okay, this kid is it?
Well, one, I'm not speaking for Mahomes when he says he can't catch Brady, because I firmly believe he thinks he probably can.
Oh,
you know what I mean? He's probably of the mindset. In fact, I know he's of the mindset where he's probably thinking, well, yeah, the rest of you can say I'm not getting like 6 or 7 or whatever, but I'm going to get like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Just chill,
Yeah.
If there was a singular moment, I mean, he came flying out of the chute, so it was hard. You were getting kind of some rumbles his first year, but you're like, okay, whatever. This is stuff coming out of the team. Great. The kid's zinging the ball around as a scout teamer. You're kind of like, okay, whatever. This is folklore. Obviously, the first time he played was kind of a garbage game against Denver. Played pretty well. Preseason he sizzled, but it was really a road game at Denver where he threw. Everybody remembers the left-handed pass where he threw the left-handed pass. Yeah. Von Miller's coming up on him. He's rolling out to his left and throws a left-handed pass and completes it. And I'm at that game and I hear the stadium just go, ugh. And in Denver, and Denver's one of the great atmospheres in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you could just hear them gulp. And I think that was everybody's bleep moment. Like, oh, this guy's going to run the show for a while in this division. Now, maybe you didn't think like dynasty and stuff, but like that's where I think you thought, oh, they really, really got their guy, and he's going to be a problem for the rest of the division. You start there, right? I don't think you're thinking, oh, they're going to roll off a bunch of Super Bowl appearances, but definitely it was kind of that moment for me that said, oh, this kid's a long-term play here.
Josh Klingler joining us. There's one thing about this run and under Andy Reid where there have been guys that have left, have gone on to be head coaches or OCs, but for the most part, it's the same staff. How does Andy Reid keep guys here? Because quietly, and Nebraska's getting an assistant defensive line coach once the Super Bowl is over. We're very familiar now with David Merritt. Dave Tobe has been there forever. Matt Nagy came back. I mean, how has Andy Reid been able to keep, for the most part, the staff intact that they don't have to worry about their staff being rated by other NFL teams?
Well, I think everybody has found this fun and this experience enjoyable, and I think that's a big part of it, right? Success is great, but I think that they've just really enjoyed the ride. Look, Steve Spagnuolo probably deserves, if you're looking around the NFL, like another shot at being a head coach. Wasn't a very good head coach the first time. I tell you what, he's a heck of a coordinator. I'd run through a wall for him. I see him basically. He comes and grabs me and shouts something at me just about after every game, and I'm like, God, run through the wall for this guy. Like he should be a head coach, but I'm like, but he's such a good coordinator. Like you can be that too, and don't have to. Not every coordinator has to be a head coach. I don't know if that's necessarily the drive for him. On Nagy, obviously, did leave and come back. They've had some turnover on the offensive staff, but when you have Andy Reid kind of leading that one, you can weather some of those things.
Sure.
I think defensively is where they've really been able to keep it together. Dave Merritt, as you mentioned, I mean he's worthy of some type of promotion. If it's not a defensive coordinator somewhere soon, I'd be very, very surprised. But maybe I don't know. Maybe he waits out Spags, and maybe Spags doesn't go anywhere, and he waits him out. Nagy will probably get another shot. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not with the Chiefs at some point later on, whenever that day Andy Reid steps out. So I think they've created a system, a culture, a belief where, they want to stick around and do things. And then, go when the time is right. I mean, I know there was a lot of, well, where should Eric Bieniemy go when he was on staff? Where should he go? Where should he go? Should he take one of these head coaching jobs? I'm like, well, why would you want to go to a team that's looking for a head coach that's terrible when you could be the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs? Like some of those things just haven't made a lot of sense over the years either. Like you got to wait for that right situation too. And maybe some of them haven't found the right situation in order to go. Nagy thought he had, and it didn't go well in Chicago. And, they actually had an opening for him to come back. So it's not the worst thing in the world to work under Andy Reid. That's for sure.
That's absolutely for sure. Josh, let's go a little bit higher up the ladder here to Brett Veach. I think the flashy stat that everybody is kind of talking about this week, only 5 players remain from that original Super Bowl roster about, 5 years ago. Is there, what is it about, and you see these players and you see these guys, what is it about the talent that Brett brings in? Is there a formula to it? Is there what's kind of the thought process of just consistently bringing in these guys who just, it's almost like they don't miss in the mid rounds of the draft?
Yeah, in the draft, and I think specifically this season has been amazing because I think one of the underwritten things that's been talked about with this Chiefs team is it very well could have been a story of injuries this year. They lost Hollywood Brown before the season started.
Yeah.
They lost Isaiah Pacheco. They lost Rashee Rice. So you're talking about your 2 starting wide receivers and your starting running back. That could be a killer for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Like you're done. And I know they have Mahomes, but they go out and they get McCole Hardman. They re-sign McCole Hardman. They bring Juju Smith-Schuster back. They trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and suddenly everything's fine. And they don't miss a beat. And then, defensively, kind of same thing. They lost one of their starting corners, very important piece of a Steve Spagnuolo defense. Didn't have a natural replacement, but they just kind of figured it out. Next man up, step through. So Brett Veach has done a great job of drafting, great job of making in-season moves. You get Kareem Hunt. I should mention him too at running back, right? You get Kareem Hunt, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins in the middle of the season, and then you got healthier as the year went on, and were able to bring those injured guys back. So it very well could have been a season of, oh my goodness, everything just didn't go right, and they had a bunch of injuries, and it came to an end. They just plugged some gaps and went out and made some savvy moves again, and okay, it's fine. And now you're heading into the Super Bowl with like too many wide receivers. It's kind of a joke.
That's crazy.
And then drafting, they've made some smart plays. They've hit on some people that have fallen in the draft at times too. I kind of point to Trey Smith, who's going to bake buku bucks on the market this year, if not with the Chiefs, with somebody else at guard. Perennial Pro Bowler, fell to the 5th round because he had some medical issues. The Chiefs never blinked, and they're like, we'll figure it out. We'll get him healthy. He's played the entire time he's been here and has been a steal in the 5th round. Pacheco was a guy they've kind of described as well. He kind of fell through the cracks of the COVID years. They stayed on him. His name wasn't really hot, but they liked him, and they kind of were happy that he kind of fell because they had watched him enough, and they felt like that there was like a flood of people that came out, and he got forgotten about, and they got him. So just kind of doing those like little things, doing your homework in that regard. And yes, they take a lot of pride in the later rounds, and even some undrafted guys, that find their way into the mix as well. So he's done a miraculous job with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes around. You don't probably get the credit you deserve, but he's made a lot of fantastic moves and has drafted awfully well. I mean, drafts are hit and miss. You look around, even the best drafters, they're going to have some busts, and they've away from a lot of those.
Sure.
At least in the last few years, especially to bring in contributors. Because you're right, you gotta turn this thing over every 3 years. It's going to be a different squad, and they've done a pretty good job at that.
What concerns you most from a Kansas City perspective when you look at Philadelphia?
I mean, I think it's undoubtedly Barkley. His being dynamic and taking center stage. I think if they are able to slow him down early, and I think that will be the number one focus, and then keep Hurts off rhythm and off schedule. I think the Chiefs are in some business. If Barkley gets going and they're getting efficiency offensively, I think that they can make this certainly a game. Look, the Chiefs have played everybody close this year. It's not been any secret that at times they haven't done the greatest of jobs of putting the throttle down. I think if there's an opportunity in this game, they're going to try to do it, because this is the game that they have played for. Getting to this game is not the goal, hasn't been the goal. And I know for every team it's get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs pretty much put all their chips on winning this Super Bowl and making it 3 in a row. And so I don't think they're going to leave anything unchecked in this game, but it starts with shutting down Barkley early on in the game, I think.
Josh, during the Patriots dynasty, the term, there was a kind of a coin term, the Patriot way, right? And do your job. And there was a lot of things that Belichick and Brady and that leadership hung their hat on as pillars for why they were so good for so long. What do you think are the pillars for the Chiefs way?
I think there's a little of that in every successful team, and I know it had kind of a negative connotation, the Patriot way, do your job. But I think doing your job is the most important thing. I mean, I've seen Chiefs teams in the past that guys weren't doing their job, and one guy's trying to do 3 jobs, and it never works, right?
Sure.
So it is being attention to detail. Look, this team not only is super talented, they work about as hard as anybody in the league. They practice about as hard as anybody in the league, especially their training camps. I don't know why more people don't follow what the Chiefs do to start a season, to start training camp. They go away. They practice really hard, within NFL rules. But he does not run, let's kind of skip into camp. I mean, they're hitting the ground running. They're doing all kinds of stuff in May. When you can, in the facility, and it's a 365 plan, and you got to be on your point. And so if I'm a coach in the NFL, I'm probably like, why don't I do what Andy Reid's doing? This makes a lot of sense. Yes, you have the talent, but also they work really, really hard. And so I think that's been a part of it too, that he always says, I let my guys let their personality show. But he likes them to have a little bit of fun within the confines of this is a very organized structure. And so winning also does that, right? It fuels the next group that comes in, and it becomes very, very contagious. But I think it's their attention to detail. Andy Reid's attention to detail, Steve Spagnuolo's attention to detail, the guys at the top that really make this thing tick.
Hey, Josh, as always, we appreciate it. Safe travels into New Orleans. We enjoy your work with Mitch and Dana on Sundays, and look forward to the Super Bowl. And congratulations being back in the Super Bowl, and good luck on Sunday night.
Yeah, no pressure on us either. I don't know how many people probably said to hey guys, bring back a win. Like, I'll control what I can control, but no, there's a lot on this one, because like I said, it's not about, this is going to be a very disappointed city fan base team if they don't bring this one home, because I think, again, all the chips are pushed in. This is about winning 3.
Yeah, hey, fantastic. Josh, thank you.
Anytime, guys. See you later.
Josh.
That's Josh Klingler, who was smart, said, I got to sleep in. So someone asked me this yesterday. Is this season a success for the Chiefs?
So I was going to say, I loved what Josh said at the very, very end, like literally just leaving right now, 30 seconds ago, what he said, where it's like, it's all about getting 3. And I think the idea is that, like, this is it. Like, they may never get another opportunity. More than likely, they'll never get an opportunity to go back to back to back. And I'll go ahead and say it too. I don't know if there will be another team ever in NFL history to be able to go back to back to back. I mean, we've done 59 years of Super Bowls, and this is the first time ever a team has won back-to-back Super Bowls and then even got into the Super Bowl the very next year. So, no, it's a success. They made it to the Super Bowl, guys. If they lose, it's a success. At the same time, there is a lot of pressure, because it's like, man, this is history. This is you're on the verge of one of the greatest accomplishments in all of sports, period. A thing that people thought would never, ever happen has the potential to happen on Sunday, and yet we're definitely not talking about it enough in the national media, which is crazy to me.
I think it's a success.
It's absolutely a success. You made the Super Bowl.
This was a year where I didn't have a ton of expectations, and it might be one of the more impressive years considering the injuries, who they are, got a target on their back. They've lost one game. The other game they lost, the starters didn't play.
Yeah,
But it's to me, the season is a success. Of course, would love to win 3 in a row. But if they don't and they get beat by a better team, then you know what? It happened. But I agree with you. I think in this day and age of the NFL, it's going to be tough for anybody to pull this off. I mean, it's tough to win back to back, but then to turn around, man, that's a lot of football. And complacency is a big thing, because what happens is you're not able to keep your roster together. By the time you get to year number 3, guys are off, or you've had to make moves because you have to spend some money. And they've found a way to do it. But I think that starts at the top. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, like, they drive and they drive and they drive. And that's becomes the standard. That's crazy. I as a Chiefs fan who grew up when they weren't very good, and I'll never, ever take this stretch for granted, it blows me away what they're doing. And you wake up the next day and you do it over again. I mean, they got the ownership to the front office to the head coach, and then you got a game-changing, program-changing, franchise-changing quarterback that has given you hope. I don't have to have hopium. I got number 15.
Do you know how hard that is, what you just described? Having a good owner.
Professional sports, it's unbelievable.
Who then hires a good GM, who then hires a good coach, who then drafts a good quarterback. There are teams that don't have one of those things.
Is this where we do the Spider-Man meme?
Well, okay, so but
the Chiefs have all 4.
Everything starts at the top. Like if there's rot at the top, there is rot all the way through, and you got no shot. Kansas City has great ownership. And they've been able to hire a GM, hire a head coach, make a draft pick. And there's a part, Josh mentioned something about Veach. They basically redid their defensive back room over a draft.
Yeah.
Which is not easy to do. But this will be their toughest opponent. But it's a success to me.
Do you think it's the toughest opponent?
Yes.
Throughout the entirety of this dynasty?
No, but this year definitely.
Okay.
News out of Columbus. Ohio State has announced a new 7-year deal for Ryan Day.
He's buying lunch for everybody today.
$12.5 million.
They're getting busy over there. Whoa.
$12.5 million a year for Ryan Day.
Nice. Good for him. Brian Hartline
buys a lot of hair.
One of the greatest wide receiver coaches of all time. Will end up being the OC next year too. Hell of a promotion for him. We'll see what happens.
But who will be calling plays?
So that is the question.
Will Ryan Day be calling plays?
I think they're going to let Brian try, because I think Ryan has talked about the fact that he wants to be in the CEO role, and that's what he wants to do. And they won with him being in the CEO role. So I think they'll give Brian they'll give him a little biscuit and say, here you go. Try it out, dog. And then we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, you got a pretty damn good play caller in Ryan Day right behind him. It'll be interesting to see that dynamic.
About 2.5 months ago, Ryan Day was going to get fired. People were lashing out at his family.
2.5 months ago. Like 6 weeks ago.
Now he's going to get $12.5 million, 7-year deal to stay away from the NFL. Not a bad gig. They open up against Texas.
It'll be one hell of a okay. So much for Brian. Here you go. Try it out. That's one hell of a first game to call plays for.
He has beaten Texas before as a receiver.
Good. Hey, good call.
There. We will continue with our Super Bowl coverage. James Palmer will join us next. For all the Eagles fans out there that are a big fan of the man from Pickrell named Cam Jurgens, we will ask some Philadelphia Eagle questions because James is from Philadelphia.
Oh.
That's coming up next. And Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. All right, now we're starting to pick up a little buzz for the Super Bowl.
Heck yeah.
Let's welcome in senior NFL reporter for Underdog Fantasy, NFL insider for Bleacher Report. You see this guy everywhere. Familiar face, familiar voice. He
Absolutely.
joins us now, James Palmer. James, thanks for your time. Welcome to 1620 The Zone in Omaha.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Is this a buzzless Super Bowl, or can you sense that now we're to Thursday and it's really starting to pick up?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, there's always these years where, we've seen this Chiefs fatigue that people are talking about, where it's 5 and 6 years, and this is a rematch from a few seasons ago. But I think that the two teams that lost probably played a big part in it as well, and everybody I was at that AFC Championship game rooting for Buffalo to finally get over the hump and get in, and Washington was such a great story, so it didn't really fall the way I would say the casual fan probably wanted it. But I think now that we're getting closer to the game, we're starting to remember how good this Super Bowl was a few years ago between these two teams, how Jalen Hurts had maybe one of the best Super Bowl performances we've ever seen at the quarterback spot, and he lost. And I think now everybody's trying to just see, will the Chiefs three-peat? Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know if I have to pay Pat Riley, or I'm not exactly. It's been a big deal this week. But we're really now starting to think, okay, we all love football. We all love the Super Bowl. And now let's see if something we've never seen actually happens. I think that mindset, yes, that's changed a little bit.
I think that's beautifully put, James. Look, you've been around the league for a very, very long time, and you've done incredible work. In your time before this happened, did you ever think a three-peat was even possible, that there could even be a team that could win back-to-back and then even have the opportunity to do 3 in a row?
Well, I covered Brady and Belichick a lot in New England. Yeah. So when I was, watching what they were doing and how they were so malleable as a team, and I think that's what we're seeing in Kansas City. I always thought what set Brady apart from, and this is no slight to Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or any of the other greats, is every year he changed how he played, in all honesty, to the strengths of the roster they had. And him and Belichick were so smart in terms of, oh, wait, so you're telling me this year we have this defense, and if I don't turn it over and I hand it off 30 times a game, I'm fine with that, but we'll win a Super Bowl. That's always what set Brady apart. And now we're seeing, Mahomes do this in a very similar manner. I mean, this is his worst season statistically in almost every single category, except wins. It's his best. And so you just see how they've changed, and they're very different than they were when I was covering KC in 18 and 19. And so when I saw New England do that, I always thought, well, there's a chance if another team can pull that off. But you're right. There was a part of me going, I watched them go undefeated and lose in the Super Bowl. And so they've had these, we always have this parity that makes the league so great. But I always thought if another team came along that could change the way they play each year, they'd have a chance. But this is really something special.
So for people that are Chiefs fans, they're very familiar with your work, because there were times where I thought you were a Chiefs-only reporter. So
I thought that too, yeah.
But you spent a lot of time around this franchise, and in particular, Patrick Mahomes. James, now that we're to 5 Super Bowls in 7 years, possibly 3 in a row, the season that he has had, which I guess wouldn't be Mahomes standards, but a lot of guys would take this. How do you describe, because you've had kind of a front row seat to this meteoric rise to stardom, how this happened for this guy that the Chiefs drafted, that at the time people went, but now they go, God dang it, why do we let him do that?
Yeah, it's incredible. He is remarkable in a variety of ways. I'll give you guys the perfect example, and this is just a small part of his game. Everybody always goes, how does nobody catch him in the open field? He's not that fast, and he's able to be a very successful runner with the football, which has always been something, honestly, he turns on in the postseason as an added weapon. And the reason he's able to get away from guys is Bobby Stroup and his trainer and him, they go through the opposing defense, and he knows all of their 40 times, all of their shuttle times. He was, honestly, when he gets out in the open field, he sees the number on the jersey and immediately has the recall in the play to go, I know I'm faster than him, or I know I can run around him, or I know I can run over him. His book on every defender is so intricate, and he recalls it so quickly within the play that that's why he's able to run in the open field. I know I can run around this guy. His agility's not great. I know I can run past this guy, or I can't. That's the level that he plays at, and it's really rare to be able to do that. And now that he's, has this ownership on the offense as well, I wouldn't say Andy's doing less, But you know what I mean? Patrick is doing more within the offense, and just these little nuances that he has that allow him to make these massive plays in big moments. That's his superpower. I mean, when the game's on the line and, a play needs to be made, he makes one. And teams have tried to study it, honestly. I remember talking to the Texans, and they were like, we did an entire film study on fourth quarter plays where Patrick Mahomes makes the biggest plays. Why does this happen? Like, nobody can get to it. It's just he has this, he has this trait that so few people have, but it also comes with a lot of the work that he's put into it as well.
Saquon Barkley's acquisition from the Giants to the Eagles ranks where in all-time free agency pickups in the NFL?
Well, if they win come Monday, I'd say it might be right near the top. I mean, it really might be. And this is not just a really good season. This is a historic season for a running back. Mm-hmm. And I think you combine him with, what's in front of him, which is an all-pro right tackle, an all-pro left tackle, a Pro Bowl center, a Pro Bowl left guard. Like, this is a great group that's right in front of him that's beyond talented. And to have an offense that is based on the run and the explosive plays are based on the run. That's the crazy part. Like, Philly gets most of their explosive plays in the run game. This isn't just a run game. It's like it'll take you 60 yards, 70 yards, and they score. And so he already was outstanding. I know their running back coach, Jamel Singleton, is outstanding. I think his relationship with Kenny Gainwell is maybe something that's not talked about enough. They push each other in the weight room. And his unselfishness, though, I will say this real quick. Like, I've talked to Jamel about this. There's drives where Saquon's on the sideline saying, hey, keep Kenny in. He's rolling right now. If he wasn't that unselfish, like, what would the numbers be this year?
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Hey, how often is a team successful when the head coach goes into a season knowing that his job's on the line? If I'm looking at last year, because if you would have told me that Sirianni would be back in the Super Bowl after 2 years ago, I'd be like, nah, that ain't going to happen. Watch the meltdown last year, James. Off season, he gets to come back, but they say, we're going to pick your coordinators, and they're back in the Super Bowl. How'd we go from the end of last year to the end of this year with Philadelphia and Nick Sirianni?
Yeah, there's a few things at play. I would say it wasn't as bad in the building as we all thought it was, or as much of an issue as we made it out to be publicly. I think that was, if you ask the right people in Philadelphia, would probably say it to you that way. I would also say there was a lot of work put in on Jalen Hurts' part and Nick Sirianni's part to, I don't want to say mend the relationship like it was broken, but to improve the relationship for the better of the team. And I think coordinators matter. Coordinators really matter. I mean, what they had on defense, obviously they've changed some guys in the secondary, and these young guys are playing great. But like Sean Desai and Matt Patricia and everything, like Vic Fangio is an outstanding defensive coordinator. And now I think they've put themselves in a position where this has been the hack for Kansas City forever, right?
Yeah.
Steve Spagnuolo is not going anywhere. And that's just an advantage for Kansas City. Usually when you have this much success, you lose coaches. Right? And Philly has lost, let's just remember, a boatload of coaches over the last couple of years. Shane Steichen becomes a head coach, and then, Jonathan Gannon becomes a head coach, and then they lose both coordinators this past year. There's been a lot of turnover. I do think Nick should get a little bit of credit for that. And now I do think Philly is in a position where Vic Fangio is not going anywhere. He doesn't even want another head coaching job. Mm-hmm. And now they have, that DC locked in on one side, and they're probably going to lose their OC again this year. And so more turnover. So maybe, we should look at this and go, Sirianni has to be doing something right? Right? I mean, Howie helps. Having the best roster in football helps. But he's doing something right.
Let's talk about Howie. I mean, when you look at Howie Roseman and how he's built this roster, I think it's really interesting when you break it down, James, how he's gotten guys who maybe didn't have the measurables, but a lot of talent, or didn't have the measurables, but a lot of production with Nakobe Dean. But then, he also drafts guys that maybe didn't have all that production, but has a ton of talent. How have you seen Howie build this roster, and maybe what is separating him from other GMs in the league?
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best in the league. This is the best roster in the league. No lie, I have friends that are in front offices and on other teams, and they study the Eagles. They try to see what Philadelphia does. I think they have a really healthy balance between the analytic world and just the pure scouting world. Mm-hmm. They're never afraid to take chances. And I think what Howie's advantage over everyone else is job security. He's never worried about his job. So what does that allow him to do? Like, he can make mistakes. He can, make a pick and go, you know what, that didn't work. Screw it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to bail on it sooner than most guys would, because oftentimes general managers are in a position where I made that pick and it didn't work out and I got to sell it to the owner. So you stick with it longer than you have to. Jeffrey Lurie's ability to allow Howie to, we gave Carson Wentz a new contract. Oh, that didn't work out. Let's just get Jalen Hurts in the second round and move on from, the quarterback to another quarterback. And so I think Howie's job security plays a part in how he does this. I think they have a really, I think here's a name you probably didn't expect me to say. Connor Barwin is a former pass rusher in this league and played down in Houston with J.J. Watt, and I covered him down there. He has a very interesting role in Philadelphia. He's essentially in charge of all of these young players coming into this organization, guys that maybe have some issues like a Jalen Carter, right? We know his off-the-field issues. The reason he fell to Philly is teams just didn't have him on their boards. Well, Howie's like, we have a guy that relates to players so well, a guy that can take care of, these type of situations so well. We know how talented Jalen Carter is. If we can get them together, let's see what happens. Well, now he's one of the best interior guys in all of football. And so they take those chances. They have good people around Howie, and Howie's job security plays a big part in it too.
It seems like every time a great offense plays the Kansas City Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo has something up his sleeves. What is it about Spags and his preparation and just his defenses in general that just always gives top offenses fits?
Yeah, well, the first one is he makes the right call in the biggest moments.
Yeah.
That's just a remarkable feel for the game he has. He brings pressure, but he doesn't do it consistently all the time. He finds the right places to bring it. And then I would say the type of players that they have. Like I was talking to one of their coaches before the AFC Championship game, and it was kind of interesting. He was like, we have 11 guys on defense that know almost every position of the defense. And oftentimes in the league, that's not the case anywhere. Like, you have guys that are really talented for sure, and you know that they have to play because they're uber talented, but they're kind of like either a knucklehead or just kind of, their football IQ is not great, or they just know their position. They're able to make all these movements and all these disguises and do all these different things because everybody understands the defense so well from a football IQ standpoint. And I think that allows Spags to do a lot of these other pressures. And obviously Chris Jones makes it easy for you. When teams got to slide to him one direction, pressures come from the other side. They use Chris. It may hurt his stats, but they use Chris to create pressure and have unblocked guys repeatedly. I think there are like 58 guys come this year that were not touched, which was unbelievable.
Hey, James, as always, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much, James. That was awesome.
That's James Palmer. He used to be on NFL Network. Now he is doing other things, but great guy covering the NFL.
Absolutely.
It is like these two teams, like front office, mirror each other.
Oh my God!
Like
incredible
from ownership to general manager to roster construction. Like, look at Cam Jurgens, for example. What do they always say? The best time to get a quarterback, draft a quarterback, is when you don't need a quarterback. They didn't know Jason Kelce was at the end, like on the back nine, like we're about a year away from. So what do? You go and get Cam Jurgens, and you make it okay that Jason understands you're going to mentor him. He's going to replace you. And Kelce's like, I can't wait. So they've done a really good job. Look at Mitchell and DeJean in the back end.
I mean,
those guys are going to be here for a while. They take guys off the scrap heap that are free agents that maybe struggled in their previous stop. All of a sudden they look great, but they do it through drafting. They do it through right free agency. And then, oh, by the way, they got some studs. I mean, they hit that home run of one player like a Barkley and for example, a Mahomes.
And a Jalen Carter and a Jordan Davis.
Yep.
Another thing too, like I love how you said it, right? They like mirror each other in terms of how they like build talent, how they dominate within the middle of the draft. We'll go to Jurgens real quick. Like Jason Kelce has an awesome story. They brought Jason in and said, here, sit down and watch the tape on these centers and tell us which one to pick. And he picked Jurgens. And funny enough, Jurgens was a guy similar to Kelce who didn't start off as center. He was a converted tight end into center, right? That's kind of what Jason did that too. And it was kind of melded, and he has more athleticism, and they're both a little bit undersized. Like it was incredible to see. Kelce looked at Jurgens like, this is a guy who could be me. And look at the success now that he's having at center. I mean, and that's, not a lot of GMs do that. Not a lot of GMs bring in their players and say, hey, make this pick.
Well, and they both they start inside in the trenches and build out.
Yes.
I mean, both Philadelphia has the best offensive line. Kansas City's offensive line is not bad, but they've had a lot of moving parts. I mean, but it's also part of, we pay attention to offensive line and the culture. Look at Tooney, they moved him out to tackle. He's an all-pro guard. They move him out to tackle, and you wouldn't know. This is the two best teams are playing on Sunday, but like you can't mimic what they have done because they have special ownership. They hired the right GM
and the right coach and the right player
and the right coordinators.
Yes. Hey, if Joe Thuney, let me tell you something right now. What if he gets to 8? GOAT conversation?
I think he's pretty close right now.
He's at 5. He'll get to 5 if they win on Sunday.
Hope you enjoyed Josh Klingler and James Palmer. The Super Bowl coverage on The Zone brought to you by Moose Roofing and OSI Oakland. Brian Edwards is next. He's got a thought or two on the Super Bowl, maybe a prop.
Maybe.
He'll stop by to wrap up the Thursday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, time to talk to our senior handicapper from Vegas Insider. Lots going on. VegasInsider.com. Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter. It is Brian Edwards. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. What's happening?
It's one day after another. A lot of basketball yesterday around here. Let's dive right into the Super Bowl. When you look at this Super Bowl and you look at the line, and I know that's not one of your plays, what's your thoughts on this line and if it'll change much? Because I just saw in some places it's down to 1 for Kansas City. I know it's not a huge difference, but your thoughts on the line for this game?
Yeah, so I drove to Biloxi 2 days ago and then drove the rest of the way to New Orleans yesterday. So I listened to a lot of VSiN on because they're back on Sirius XM channel 158. So I was loving it. I feel like a lot of those guys, the sharp guys, seem to have opinions on Philly. Okay. And I asked the guys behind the counter at the Beau Rivage yesterday morning, who they were getting action on. They were still at 1.5, and they said they had not been getting much action yet. But the main guy, I'm shooting a blank on his name, the sportsbook manager, I heard him say that he thought Philly was going to go off the favorite. So we'll see on all that. And I lean KC on the side, but I forget if I told you guys, but I had a 30-1 future ticket on the Commanders.
Yeah.
So as a hedge, I bought the Eagles plus 200, and I did the Eagles exacta plus 425 to beat the Chiefs. So I have played the Chiefs kind of like another. I've kind of got like another hedge going. So basically, I'm going to win a little bit if the Eagles win, but I'm not going to lose because of the way I've hedged it with Kansas City either way. So my big play is the over. I think we hit on that last week, and we can hit on that more.
You have a 4-way hedge?
Well, so no, I had Washington 30-1.
Okay.
So going into the NFC Championship game, I bought the Eagles plus 200 to win the Super Bowl.
So there's the hedge.
Bought them plus 425 exacta to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Okay. So then it's a 3-way hedge. Okay, that's a little bit better. That's awesome.
There we go.
That's crazy. Hey, so before we get into your specific picks here, I'm looking down at them, but I noticed not a lot of Kansas City love from you. Is there a reason why you're kind of staying off the Chiefs a little bit, just when it comes to the props and the bets and everything like that?
Well, I just think that their offense is just more balanced. I mean, Mahomes is just going to take what they give him, whether that's Xavier Worthy, whether that's throwing to the running backs, whether it's throwing to Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, or, maybe even getting a little DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I think it's kind of more unpredictable. Whereas with Philly, I'm confident we're going to get Jalen Hurts rushing yards. I like that over 40.5. I like his anytime touchdown minus 115. He scored a touchdown in 10 of the last 13 games he's played in, and he scored 16 total in those 13 games. And of the 3 games that he didn't score a touchdown, one of them he left late first quarter at Washington with the concussion. And I like his rushing yards to go over 40.5. I know he only had 16 in the NFC Championship game, but that was, when he was still a little dinged with the knee from the Rams game. He's had 2 weeks. So I like that. I like a prop Fecta, which is basically a parlay with props that pays plus 432 with Jalen anytime touchdown, Saquon over 112.5 rushing yards, and A.J. Brown over 70.5 receiving yards. But my play that for a lot more than all those other plays are pretty much small plays, except for the Jalen anytime touchdown. That's about half as much as I have on the over. But the over for the game, 48.5 and 49 is my big daddy play, if you will.
Hey, let me ask you, how popular are you with the prop Fectas? Do you like that?
Yeah.
No, I was when I was on the AJ Brown, Kyle Pitts roll last year
you
with
were.
player props. They both had like a 6-game streak, and they were like simultaneous. And I said, I wish I could parlay these. And my buddy said, you can go to the prop Fecta at the top of the page. And I was like, what? Anyway, I don't do it a lot. I did a time or two with AJ and Pitts last year. I think I hit it once, and then after that is when the streak ended. And I would throw out one every now and then on a Sunday, but it's just Super Bowl. So just kind of having fun.
Hey, I do want to give you some props because, by the way, thanks for Mizzou last night. You are on, and because you're making the Super Bowl party for my partner here.
Yes.
he's gonna be able to buy food by
big time because of your picks.
Advice. Kudos to you. You're on a heck of a run for college basketball and NBA right now.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I usually do pretty good, on hoops starting like mid-January, and I'm usually awful in hoops in November and December, and like I usually am, I've done that this year. On a 23-5 run in NBA. In college, I'm on, I believe it's 16-6 the last 14 days. But I mean, I was off to such a terrible start in college as usual, just because I'm watching football in November, not hoops. But anyway, so thank you. I'm on a good
heck
run
of a
right
heater.
now.
I get to get a nice charcuterie board for the Super Bowl because of you, because of all the picks you've been giving me. So I really appreciate it. I got two quick ones for you here before we move on. Number one, I already placed my bet. I parlayed Eagles money line and a Jalen Hurts touchdown. Am I considered sharp money? Number two, what do you think the Gatorade color is going to be? B?
Oh gosh, no clue on the Gatorade color. If red or green is plus money, like a good plus money, that's probably the my educated guess there. Okay. Are you sharp money with the Eagles? And what was it? Jalen anytime touchdown?
Anytime touchdown with Hurts.
I think that the bookmakers by Sunday would probably call that sharp money. Yeah, but we'll see. That's kind of just I'm told you, I'm predicting what the sportsbook manager said and what the VSiN sharp guys seem to be thinking. Even Derek Stevens said they were getting mostly Eagles money. The head guy at Circa on an interview the other day.
Hey, we'd be remiss as we get you out of here. Your thoughts on the Luka trade?
Oh my God! I could not believe it. And how do the Lakers get away with these robberies like this? Trade? Thank goodness the late David Stern did not let them steal Chris Paul. But man, they steal a superstar every decade. Seems like.
Yeah, that was crazy. B, as always, again, kudos on the hot streak. Enjoy the weekend. Did you slip in there that you stopped in Biloxi on your way to New Orleans?
Yeah, Beau Rivage 2 nights ago, and they were very, very good to me. But by the time I got there, UCLA had moved from 3 to 1.5, and they ended up winning by 2. And San Jose State had moved from 3 to 2.5. And because I made my cash bets at Beau Rivage about 30 minutes before tips, and the line moves worked perfect for me. Although I lost my UCLA bet back home, I pushed it for San Jose, but I did small bets back home that morning, and because I wanted to do bigger bets with cash, so it worked out excellent.
Hey, fantastic! Have a great Super Bowl weekend and good luck.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great weekend as well.
That's Brian Edwards, senior handicapper from VegasInsider.com. You can find him at a lot of different places. Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter.
He is. I love Brian. It's always awesome. It's just always fun. It's just a bunch of degenerates talking to each other about lines and movement and props. It's crazy. Hey, great show today.
We will discuss more on the Super Bowl tomorrow. The voice will be stronger because we got till 7:00 tonight. Omaha, North Dakota. Mavs are in first place. If you haven't seen them play, nothing else going on. We'll see you over at Baxter Arena. We'll see all of you tomorrow at 6 on the Friday before the Super Bowl. For Jimmy, for Matt, I'm Garrett. It's Gary and Matt. Crossover with Connor Happers coming up next on 1620 The Zone.